The black box arrived on a Tuesday, unmarked and wrapped in silk the color of dried blood. Inside, nestled against black velvet, lay a single white lily, its petals perfect, its meaning unmistakable. A funeral flower. Lena Carter's hands trembled as she read the card tucked beneath. 3 days. No signature. No explanation. Just those 2 words and the suffocating certainty that her world had just collapsed into something far darker than bankruptcy. Someone didn't just want her flower shop. They wanted her erased, and they were giving her 72 hours to disappear. Stay until the end to see how far this story of survival and power goes. Hit that like button and drop your city in the comments so I can see where this tale reaches across the world. The morning Lena Carter's life shattered for the second time, she was elbow deep in roses. Not the romantic kind. These were commercial Ecuadorian imports, their stems thick as pencils, their blooms engineered for longevity rather than beauty. She'd been awake since 4 a.m., processing the shipment that had cost her the last of her credit, a gamble on Valentine's week that now felt like throwing money into an incinerator. The shop was cold. Heat cost money she didn't have. Careful with those. She didn't look up as Marcus, her only remaining employee, hauled in another bucket. The kid was 17, worked for minimum wage and leftover arrangements, and showed up on time. In the wreckage of Carter and daughter florals, that made him essential. The Juliet roses go in the cooler, not the display case. Got it. His voice cracked on both syllables. Hey, Ms. Carter, there's some guy outside, been standing there for like 10 minutes, just watching. Lena's hands stilled. Watching the shop? Watching you. She straightened slowly, her spine crackling after hours bent over work tables. Through the frost-fogged window, she could make out a silhouette. Tall. Still. The morning light broke around him like water around stone. Probably another creditor, she muttered, but something cold slithered down her spine. Creditors sent letters. They didn't stand in 14-degree weather watching through windows. The bell above the door chimed, that bright, cheerful sound her father had installed 20 years ago, back when customers were plentiful and the future felt certain. The man who entered didn't fit the space. He wore a charcoal wool coat that probably cost more than her monthly rent, and he moved with the kind of measured precision that suggested either military training or something darker. We open at 9, Lena said, not moving from behind the counter. I know. His voice was quiet, controlled. I'm not here for flowers. Then you're in the wrong place. No. He pulled off his gloves with deliberate care. I'm exactly where I need to be. You're Lena Carter. It wasn't a question. Lena's hand drifted toward the pruning shears on the counter. Not that they do much good, but the weight of them felt better than nothing. Do I know you? Not yet. He crossed to the counter and she got her first clear look at him. Mid-30s, maybe. Dark hair starting to silver at the temples. Eyes the color of slate, and just as unreadable. My name is Victor Rains, and you're in danger. Lena laughed, a short, bitter sound. You'll have to be more specific. I'm 3 months behind on rent, the suppliers won't extend credit, and I've got about 48 hours before I have to close my father's shop forever. What kind of danger are we talking about? Financial? Emotional? Existential? The kind that gets people killed. The shop went very quiet. Even Marcus had stopped moving. Get out, Lena said softly. In 72 hours, someone is going to make you an offer for this property. Victor's gaze never left hers. The price will be generous, triple the market value. They'll be very polite, very professional. And if you refuse, they'll make it extremely clear that acceptance isn't optional. How do you know that? Because I've been tracking them for 6 months, and because you're the 11th property owner they've approached this year. The other 10 all sold. He paused. The 2 who initially refused are in the hospital. One's still in a coma. Lena's grip tightened on the shears. This is insane. Who would... Harbor Point Development Corporation. You've probably seen their signs around the neighborhood. His tone remained neutral, factual. On paper, they're a legitimate commercial real estate firm. In reality, they're a front for the Volkov syndicate, and they want this entire city block. For what? Does it matter? Yes, Lena snapped. If you're going to walk in here and tell me my life is in danger, I damn well want to know why. Victor studied her for a long moment, and something that might have been approval flickered across his face. Money laundering. Your shop sits on a key corner of what will become a mixed-use development. Retail on the ground floor, luxury condos above. Legitimate business revenue masking millions in dirty money. But the project only works if they control the entire block. You're the last holdout. I'm not holding out. I'm just trying to survive until spring. They don't see a difference. Marcus cleared his throat. Ms. Carter, should I call the police? Victor's expression didn't change, but somehow the temperature in the room dropped several degrees. The police can't help you. 3 of the investigating officers are on Volkov's payroll. File a report, and you'll be confirming that you know too much. This is crazy, Lena breathed. I don't know anything. I'm nobody. You're an obstacle. That's all it takes. She wanted to throw him out, wanted to believe this was some elaborate scam, that the real danger was standing in front of her wearing an expensive coat and spinning conspiracy theories. But something in his voice, that absolute, unshakable certainty, made her pause. Why are you telling me this? She asked. What do you get out of it? The Volkov syndicate killed someone close to me. I've spent years building a case against them, gathering evidence, learning their patterns. But they're careful, insulated. Every time we get close, witnesses disappear. Evidence gets lost, trails go cold. He paused. You're an opportunity, a crack in their armor. If we can make them act carelessly, make them visible, you want to use me as bait. I want to protect you. The rest is bonus. Lena laughed again, but there was no humor in it. Get out of my shop. Think about it. I said get out. Victor regarded her for a moment longer, then reached into his coat. Lena tensed, but he only pulled out a plain black business card. No logo. No company name. Just a phone number embossed in silver. When they come, and they will come, call me. Day or night. I can have a team here in 3 minutes. I don't need your help. You will. He set the card on the counter, then turned toward the door. He paused with his hand on the frame. For what it's worth, I'm sorry about your father. He built something good here. It deserves better than being demolished for a criminal enterprise. He was gone before Lena could ask how he knew about her father. Marcus broke the silence. That was intense. Lena stared at the business card. The rational part of her brain screamed that this was insane. Paranoid delusions from a stranger who probably belonged in a psychiatric facility. But the part that had learned to trust her instincts, the part that had navigated her father's death and the subsequent financial nightmare, the part that had felt eyes on her for weeks now, that part believed every word. Marcus, she said quietly, I need you to do something for me. Sure, what? Go home. But we've got that wedding order. Go home. Take the rest of the week off. Paid. The kid's eyes widened. Miss Carter, you can't afford. I'll manage. Please, Marcus, just go. He looked like he wanted to argue, but something in her face stopped him. He grabbed his coat and backpack, lingering at the door. You'll call if you need anything, right? Of course. The lie tasted bitter. She waited until he was gone, then locked the door and flipped the sign to closed. The flower shop looked different now, smaller, more vulnerable. The windows that had once seemed charming now felt like exposure. The old Victorian architecture her father had loved so much now felt like a cage. Lena picked up Victor's card. The number seemed to pulse under the fluorescent lights. She told herself she wouldn't call, told herself this was all some mistake, some misunderstanding that would resolve itself. She was still telling herself that when the black box arrived. The delivery van showed up at 2 p.m., unmarked white paneling and tinted windows. The driver wore a courier uniform that looked wrong somehow. Too new, too crisp, like a costume rather than work clothes. Package for Lena Carter. I didn't order anything. Someone did. He thrust a clipboard at her. Sign here. Every instinct screamed at her to refuse, to slam the door, to call. Who? The police Victor claimed were compromised? Her lawyer who'd stopped returning calls months ago? She signed, took the box, closed the door. It was heavier than it should have been, wrapped in silk the color of old blood. No return address, no company logo, just her name in silver calligraphy on the lid. Lena's hands shook as she unwrapped it. The lily was perfect, absolutely, impossibly perfect. White petals with just a hint of cream at the edges. Stem cut at a precise 45-degree angle, leaves glossy and unblemished. It was the kind of flower she could never afford to stock, the kind reserved for celebrity funerals and state ceremonies. The card tucked beneath it was cream-colored vellum, expensive paper stock. 2 words in black ink. 3 days. That's when the fear crystallized into something solid and choking. Victor had said 72 hours. This was confirmation. This was a countdown. Lena pulled out her phone with trembling fingers. Victor's card sat on the counter where she'd left it, the silver number catching the afternoon light. She dialed before she could talk herself out of it. He answered on the first ring. "Lena, how did you know I'd call?" The lily arrived. Her blood went cold. "You're watching me. I'm watching them. There's a difference." His voice remained calm, unhurried. "Don't touch the flower. Don't throw it away. Leave everything exactly as it is and walk out the front door. There's a black sedan parked 2 blocks north, corner of Madison and 5th. Get in." "I'm not getting in some stranger's car." "You're not dealing with business competitors anymore, Lena. You're on the Volkov syndicate's radar, and that lily is their signature. It means they've done their research, they've made their decision, and they're giving you a courtesy warning before the hammer drops." "A warning? That's supposed to be a warning?" "It means they're still being polite. That window closes fast." Lena looked around her shop. The flower coolers her father had installed in 1995, the antique cash register that still worked perfectly, the photos on the wall showing 3 generations of Carter florists. Everything she had left of him was in these walls. "What if I just sell?" she asked quietly. "What if I take their offer and walk away?" "You could." No judgment in his voice, just statement of fact. "They'd pay you, let you leave. You'd be alive. But you'd spend the rest of your life looking over your shoulder. Because you'd know what you saw, and they'd know you know. And the Volkov syndicate doesn't believe in loose ends." He paused. "I can protect you, Lena, but I need you to trust me." "I don't know you." "You know enough. You know I walked into your shop this morning and told you the truth. You know the lily arrived exactly when I said it would. You know in your gut that I'm the only person who's been straight with you." His voice softened slightly. "And you know that if you stay there, you're going to die." Lena closed her eyes, took a breath, made a choice. 2 blocks north, corner of Madison and 5th. "Good. Move now. Bring nothing but your phone and wallet. Leave the door unlocked." "But the shop is already lost." "I'm sorry, but your life doesn't have to be." She hung up before he could say anything else, before she could change her mind. The walk to the car felt surreal, like moving through water. The February wind cut through her thin jacket. She'd left her good coat hanging by the register, left the space heater running, left everything that mattered behind. The sedan was exactly where he'd said. Black, expensive, windows tinted to opacity. The rear door opened as she approached. Victor sat in the back seat, tablet in his lap, expression unreadable. "Get in." Lena slid inside. The door clicked shut with the solid, final sound of a vault ceiling. "Where are we going?" "Somewhere safe. Somewhere they can't reach you." He handed her the tablet. On screen was a live feed from inside her flower shop. "Watch." At first nothing happened. Then the front door opened, the one she'd left unlocked. 4 men entered. They moved with military precision, spreading out, checking corners. One of them picked up the black box, examined the lily, nodded to the others. They didn't trash the place, didn't steal anything. They simply looked. Methodical, professional, terrifying in their calm efficiency. "They're confirming you received their message," Victor said quietly, "and noting that you fled. That tells them you understand the situation. Now they'll escalate." "To what?" "That depends on how smart they think you are. If they believe you ran to the police, they'll move to discredit you. Mental health issues, drug problems, financial desperation. If they think you ran to someone like me," he trailed off. "Then what?" "Then they'll try to make an example of you." The car slid through traffic, taking turns Lena didn't track. Her eyes stayed fixed on the tablet, watching strangers move through her father's legacy like they owned it. "I'm going to ask you some questions," Victor said. And I need you to answer honestly. Your life depends on the details. Okay. When did you first notice something wrong? Before the financial pressure, before the supply chain issues? When did you first feel watched? Lena thought back. 6 months ago, maybe 7. I started getting hang-up calls on the shop line. Nothing threatening, just silence. And then I'd see the same cars parked outside. Different vehicles, but always someone sitting in them, always watching. Did you report it? To who? The police? I figured it was creditors' investigators or something. I'm behind on everything, rent, utilities, supplier invoices. I thought they were just keeping tabs. They were, but not for the reasons you thought. Victor made notes on a second device. Your supplier trouble. When did that start? 8 months ago. My main wholesaler suddenly cut my credit line. Then my backup supplier did the same. I had to start paying cash on delivery, which meant smaller orders, which meant higher per unit costs, which meant worse margins. She recognized the spiral. You're saying that wasn't coincidence. Harbor Point Development has been systematically targeting this block for over a year. They identify owners who can't afford to fight, people with debt, people without family support, people who are vulnerable. Then they make those vulnerabilities worse. His voice was clinical, detached. Your suppliers didn't cut you off because of your credit score. They cut you off because they were paid to. Rage flared hot and bright in Lena's chest. They destroyed my business, my father's business, on purpose. Yes. Why not just make an offer from the start? Why all this psychological warfare? Because desperate people sell cheap, and because the Volkov syndicate enjoys it. Victor's expression finally shifted, something cold and dark moving behind his eyes. They believe fear is a tool. Pain is leverage. Broken people don't ask questions or make trouble. But you said other owners sold quickly. What made me different? You fought. Simple. Direct. You liquidated assets, cut expenses, worked 18-hour days trying to save something unsavable. That kind of stubbornness makes you unpredictable, dangerous. Lena stared at him. I'm not dangerous. I'm a florist. You're a woman who refuses to quit even when quitting is the smart move. Trust me, that's dangerous. He met her gaze. And it's why I think we can hurt them. Together. The car pulled into an underground parking structure. Pristine concrete, high-end security, the kind of building that whispered money in every detail. Victor led her to a private elevator that required both a key card and a thumbprint to activate. Where are we? Lena asked as the elevator climbed. My home. Penthouse level. Full security system, reinforced walls, dedicated security team. No one gets in or out without my authorization. The doors opened onto a space that redefined luxury. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, furniture that belonged in museums, art that was probably original. But what struck Lena most was how impersonal it felt, like a high-end hotel suite rather than a home. You live here alone? The question slipped out before she could stop it. Yes. It's, she searched for a diplomatic word, clean. It's sterile. Victor shrugged out of his coat. I'm aware. I'm also rarely here long enough to care. What do you do? Lena asked. I mean, when you're not warning florists about criminal syndicates? I acquire things. Information, mostly. Sometimes leverage. I consult for people who need problems solved quietly and efficiently. You're a fixer. That's one word for it. He gestured to a hallway. Guest suite is the second door on the left. Bedroom, bathroom, everything you need. You'll find clothes in the closet. I had someone stock it this morning. You were that sure I'd come? I was that sure you'd need to. Victor pulled out his phone as it buzzed. Make yourself comfortable. We have a lot to discuss, but you should eat first. Kitchen is fully stocked. Help yourself. He disappeared into what looked like an office, leaving Lena alone in the cavernous living space. She found the guest suite exactly where he'd said, decorated in soft grays and creams, comfortable without being ostentatious. The closet held clothes in her size, casual but expensive, jeans that probably cost more than she made in a week, cashmere sweaters, even pajamas. It should have felt creepy. Instead, it felt like someone had actually thought about her needs, anticipated them, cared enough to prepare. Lena sat on the bed and finally let herself shake. She'd left everything. Her shop, her father's legacy, the life she'd been desperately trying to save. And for what? The word of a stranger and a funeral lily in a black box? But even as doubt crept in, she remembered those men moving through her shop, the clinical efficiency of their search, the absolute certainty that they had every right to be there. Victor was right. She couldn't go back. Her phone buzzed, text from a number she didn't recognize. Last chance, sell or suffer, 48 hours. Her hand steadied. The fear crystallized into something harder, sharper. They'd taken her business, her security, her future. And they wanted her to go quietly, to disappear like the others, to let them win. Lena thought about her father, about the way he'd built something from nothing, about the pride he'd taken in serving the neighborhood, about the values he'd instilled in her. Carters don't quit, he used to say. We bend, we adapt, we survive. But we don't quit. She found Victor in his office, surrounded by monitors displaying security feeds, financial records, surveillance photos. A war room disguised as a home office. I want to fight, she said. He looked up from a screen showing the interior of her flower shop. That's not a decision to make lightly. I'm not making it lightly. They destroyed my business, threatened my life, and now they think I'll just roll over and take it. She moved closer. You said we could hurt them. Tell me how. Victor studied her for a long moment, and something shifted in his expression. A wall coming down, a decision being made. Sit down, he said. This is going to take a while, shout. The briefing lasted 3 hours. Victor laid it out with the precision of a military operation. Maps, timelines, financial flows, surveillance data. The Harbor Point Development Corporation was just the visible layer. Beneath it ran a complex network of shell companies, offshore accounts, and carefully orchestrated real estate transactions. But the real target was deeper still. Dmitry Volkov, Victor said, pulling up a photo. The man looked like a successful businessman. 50s, well-groomed, expensive suit. Former Russian intelligence, immigrated 15 years ago, built a legitimate import/export business as cover. Now he runs one of the most sophisticated criminal networks on the East Coast. And you think destroying this development deal will hurt him? I think it will force him into the open. Right now he operates from shadows. Other people take the risks, face the consequences. But this project is his legacy play, his chance to go fully legitimate, to launder enough money that he can retire from the game entirely. Victor leaned back. If we threaten it, he'll have to respond personally. And when he does, we'll have him. We? You keep saying we. Lena met his gaze. I'm not an investigator or a fighter or whatever you are. I'm a florist who's good with numbers and supply chains. What exactly do you need me for? Because you see patterns. You said it yourself. You're good with numbers, with supply chains, with understanding how systems connect. He pulled up a new screen showing dozens of property transactions. I've been tracking Volkov's network for years, but I'm missing something. There's a piece of the puzzle that doesn't fit, a connection I can't see. Your perspective could be exactly what we need. Lena stood and moved to the monitors, studied the data with the same eye she'd used to track flower supplier invoices. And just like that, her brain kicked into the familiar pattern recognition mode that had kept her business afloat far longer than it should have survived. These properties, she said, pointing to a cluster of transactions, they're all commercial real estate in transitional neighborhoods, but the purchase prices are inconsistent. This one sold for 30% over market value. This one for 40% under. That doesn't make sense unless she traced connections between addresses. Unless the overpayments are cover for moving money, and the underpayments are payments for services rendered. It's not random. It's a pricing code. Victor moved beside her, following her logic. Keep going. If I'm right, you could decode the entire money laundering operation just by mapping the price deviations against dates and amounts. Where the money's coming from, where it's going, who's getting paid. She turned to him. Have you run a regression analysis on the transaction data? No. Something that might have been respect entered his voice. But we're going to now. They worked through the night. Victor had resources Lena couldn't have imagined. Databases, analytical tools, access to records that should have been sealed. And Lena had the mind for it. The ability to see connections in chaos, to find meaning in numbers. By 3 a.m., they'd mapped the entire network. Dozens of properties, millions of dollars, all flowing through Harbor Point development to Volkov's various enterprises. "This is incredible," Victor said quietly, staring at the complete picture. "We could take this to the FBI, take down the whole operation. But you won't." Lena had watched him carefully over the past hours, had seen the way his jaw tightened when Volkov's name came up, the cold fury that flickered in his eyes. "This is personal for you." He didn't deny it. "My sister. She was an investigative journalist, started looking into Volkov 3 years ago, found evidence, got close to exposing him." He paused. "Her car went into a river on a clear, dry night. Brake failure. They ruled it an accident." "I'm sorry?" "Don't be. Sorry doesn't help. Revenge does." He met her gaze. "I've dedicated the last 3 years to building a case against him. Legal, airtight, impossible to escape. But cases take time, appeals, lawyers, possibilities of acquittal. I want certainty. You want justice. I want him destroyed. Completely. Permanently." His voice was quiet, controlled, and absolutely lethal. "And with what you just helped me uncover, I can do exactly that." Lena should have been afraid, should have recognized the darkness in him and run, but she thought about the men in her flower shop, about the systematic destruction of her livelihood, about the casual cruelty of a funeral lily in a black box. "Tell me what you need me to do." Eat. The next 48 hours blurred together in a haze of planning and preparation. Victor's penthouse transformed into a command center. More people arrived, specialists in cyber operations, financial forensics, surveillance. They treated Lena with cautious respect, clearly uncertain what to make of the florist who'd cracked their money laundering case. "You're good at this," said a woman named Kira, who handled digital intelligence. "Ever considered a career change?" Lena laughed. Tired, slightly unhinged. "I just want my life back." "Sweetheart, I hate to break it to you, but that ship sailed when you got in Victor's car." Kira wasn't unkind, just blunt. "You've seen too much now. Know too much. Even if we took down Volkov tomorrow, there'd be others. This world doesn't let people go easily." The words settled like ice in Lena's chest. She'd been so focused on survival, on fighting back, that she hadn't considered the larger implications. She'd stepped into a world she didn't understand, made herself valuable to dangerous people, and now there was no going back. Victor found her on the balcony that night, staring at the city lights. "You're having second thoughts." "I'm having all the thoughts." She wrapped her arms around herself against the cold. "Kira's right, isn't she? This doesn't end, even if we win." "No, it doesn't." He moved beside her, gaze on the skyline. "The choice you made, to fight instead of run, it changed everything. I won't lie to you about that. But running wouldn't have saved you either. They'd already marked you. So I'm trapped. You're alive, and you have leverage, skills that make you valuable, protection that makes you dangerous to threaten." He turned to her. "That's more than most people get. Is this supposed to be comforting? It's supposed to be honest." Victor's expression softened slightly. "I know this isn't what you wanted. I know you'd prefer to be arranging flowers and dealing with difficult brides and fighting with suppliers over late deliveries. But that life was already gone before I walked into your shop. All I did was give you a chance to choose how it ended." Lena thought about that, about the black box and the countdown, about the alternative timeline where she'd stayed, where she'd been polite and cooperative and terrified. "You saved my life," she said quietly. "You saved yourself. I just provided the exit route." Her phone buzzed. Another text from the unknown number. "Time's up. We're coming." Victor read over her shoulder, his expression hardening. "It's starting." "What do I do?" "Nothing. Let them come." He pulled out his own phone, sent a rapid series of messages. "I've got surveillance on your shop, your apartment, every place they might look for you. When they realize you're gone, they'll escalate, get sloppy, make mistakes. And then we make our move." He met her gaze. "Are you ready for this? Because once we start, there's no stopping. It ends with Volkov broken or us dead. There's no middle ground." Lena thought about her father, about the legacy she'd failed to save. about the future she'd lost and the strange, terrifying new path opening before her. "I'm ready." Victor's smile was cold and sharp as a blade. "Good, because tomorrow we go to war." Sa. The attack on her shop came at midnight. Lena watched from Victor's command center as 4 men approached the darkened storefront. They didn't break in. One of them simply picked the lock with professional efficiency. No alarms, no sirens, just quiet invasion. "They're not even trying to hide it anymore," Kira observed. "Why would they?" Victor watched the monitors with cold focus. As far as they know, Lena's either cowering in her apartment or already fled the city. Either way, she's not a threat. The men moved through the shop with purpose. One of them pulled out a canister. Accelerant, Lena realized with horror. They were going to burn it. "We have to stop them," she started. "No." Victor's hand on her arm was gentle but firm. "Let them commit. Let them prove their intent. I have cameras recording everything. Faces, actions, evidence that can't be explained away. But my shop is already gone. I'm sorry, but salvaging it was never an option." His voice softened. "Sometimes you have to let things burn to rise from the ashes stronger." They watched as fire caught and spread. Lena felt tears on her face but didn't wipe them away. 23 years of her father's work, her childhood memories, the place she'd learned her trade, found her purpose, built her identity, all of it consumed. But as the flames rose, something else grew in her chest. Not grief, not despair. Fury. "I want to hurt them," she said softly. "I want them to feel what I'm feeling right now." "They will." Victor's hand tightened on her shoulder. "I promise you, they will." The fire department arrived 12 minutes later. Too late to save anything that mattered. Lena watched the firefighters work, saw the investigator examining the scene, taking notes. Would they rule it arson? Would anyone care? Her phone rang. Unknown number. "Answer it," Victor said. "Speaker on." She did. "Ms. Carter." The voice was male, accented, cold. "I trust you've seen the news about your shop. Tragic. These old buildings, fire hazards." "Who is this?" "A friend. Someone who wants to help you move forward from this unfortunate incident." Papers rustled. "We'd like to make you an offer for the property. Very generous, considering the condition. Enough to clear your debts and start fresh somewhere else." "How much?" 300,000. Lena's breath caught. It was more than she'd dreamed of, more than enough to rebuild, to start over, to actually have a future. "Of course," the voice continued, "this offer expires in 24 hours. After that, well, insurance investigations can be so complicated. Questions about ownership, about possible fraud, about whether the fire was intentionally set for the payout. You understand. You're threatening me. I'm offering you a gift, a way out. Take it or leave it, Ms. Carter. But choose quickly. Our patience has limits." The line went dead. "They're trying to close the loop," Victor said. "Make it look like you set the fire for insurance money, then sell to avoid investigation. Clean, simple. And if you refuse, they make sure the investigation finds what they want it to find." Lena set down her phone. "Frame me for arson." Exactly. She thought about it. $300,000. Freedom from debt. A chance to disappear. To rebuild far from here. To leave this nightmare behind. But disappearing meant letting them win. Meant her father's legacy ending not in dignified closure, but in flames and accusations. Meant the Volkov syndicate continuing to destroy lives with impunity. Meant staying a victim. "No," Lena said. "I'm not selling." Victor studied her carefully. "You understand what that means?" "It means I'm all in, whatever it takes, however this ends." She met his gaze. "You wanted someone to help you crack their armor. I just gave you the perfect opening. Let's use it." For the first time since she'd met him, Victor smiled, and it was genuine. "All right then, let's burn their empire to the ground." The war, Lena realized, had truly begun, and she was no longer running. She was hunting. The decision changed everything. Within hours, Victor's penthouse transformed from a refuge into a tactical operations center. Maps covered the dining table. Laptops hummed on every surface. The specialists who'd been working in careful isolation now moved with unified purpose, their casual demeanor replaced by razor-sharp focus. Lena stood at the center of it all, watching Victor orchestrate the response with military precision. "They think they've cornered you," he said, pointing to a timeline Kira had built. "The fire was supposed to break you, force a panic sale. But you didn't panic, and now they're exposed. They committed arson on camera, made threats on a recorded line, and they're expecting you to fold within 24 hours. "What happens when I don't?" Lena asked. "They escalate. Probably send someone to find you, apply pressure in person. That's when we get what we really need, direct connection between the street-level enforcers and Volkov's command structure." He pulled up a series of photos. "These are the 4 men who burned your shop. 2 of them have priors. One did time for aggravated assault, the other for extortion. Both walked on technicalities." "Let me guess," Lena said. "Legal representation courtesy of Volkov's attorneys." "Exactly. They're loyal, experienced, and they know how to keep their mouths shut. But everyone breaks eventually. We just need the right pressure point." A man Lena hadn't met before spoke up from across the room. His name was Marcus, no relation to her employee, and Victor had introduced him simply as logistics, which, Lena had learned, meant he handled the pieces of operations that existed in legal gray areas. "We've got eyes on all 4, Marcus said. 2 of them went back to a warehouse in the industrial district. The other 2 are sitting on your apartment building." Lena's stomach dropped. "My apartment?" "They're watching for you, waiting to see if you come back." Victor's expression remained neutral. "They won't go inside, not yet. Too much risk of witnesses. But they're patient." "How long will they wait?" "Until their deadline expires. Then they'll force entry, make it look like a robbery gone wrong, and leave just enough evidence to suggest you were there when the fire started." He paused. "You'd become a tragic cautionary tale. Desperate business owner, gambling debts maybe, insurance fraud that went wrong, fled and died in the process. Case closed." The casual brutality of it stole Lena's breath. "You're very calm about describing my murder. Because it's not going to happen. You're here. You're protected. And now we know exactly where they are and what they're planning." Victor moved closer, his voice gentler. "I know this is terrifying, but fear is useful. It means you're taking this seriously. It means you'll be careful." "I don't feel careful. I feel like I'm drowning." "Then hold on to the anger. Use it. Let it burn away the fear." His gaze locked with hers. "You said you wanted to hurt them. I'm giving you the chance, but I need to know you can handle what comes next." Lena thought about the flames consuming her father's legacy, about the cold calculation in that phone call, about the casual certainty that she was disposable, forgettable, nothing more than an obstacle to be removed. The fear was still there, but underneath it, deeper and stronger, was rage. "Tell me what to do." Victor's smile was predatory. "First, we let them think they're winning." The plan was elegant in its simplicity. Lena would call the number back, sound broken and desperate, and agree to the sale. But she'd stall, claim she needed time to find the original deed, to contact her lawyer, to get proper documentation. Every delay would force them to maintain their surveillance, keep their people in place, create more opportunities for mistakes. "They'll be suspicious," Kira warned. "You folded too fast after the fire. That's going to raise questions." "Not if I sound terrified enough," Lena said. "Not if I make them believe the fire was the breaking point." Victor studied her. "You've done this before. Negotiated under pressure." "Wedding season," Lena said dryly. "Bridezillas, impossible mothers-in-law, budget crises at the 11th hour. You learn to sound calm when you're screaming inside." "This is different. I know. But the principle is the same. Give them what they expect to hear. Make them feel in control. And use that confidence against them." 20 minutes later, Lena sat in Victor's office with a burner phone and a script they'd rehearsed until her voice shook convincingly. She dialed the number from the earlier call. 3 rings, 4. Then, "Ms. Carter, I hoped you'd reconsider." She let her voice crack slightly. "The fire. I can't. I don't have anything left." "I understand. This must be very difficult. I'll sell. Whatever you're offering. I just want this to be over." Silence on the other end. Then, "A wise decision. We can have the paperwork ready within hours." I need time. The deed is in my safety deposit box, and the bank doesn't open until 9. And I need to contact my attorney, make sure everything's legal. She let herself trail off, sounding lost. Of course. We'll send someone to meet you tomorrow morning, 9:30, at the coffee shop across from your bank. Bring all necessary documentation. How will I know who? They'll know you, Miss Carter. Don't worry. The line went dead. Lena set down the phone, her hand steady now that the performance was over. He bought it. For now, Victor said. But they'll be watching, waiting for any sign this is a trap. We have to be perfect. Kira pulled up a map. The coffee shop is public but manageable. Multiple exits, sight lines from surrounding buildings. We can position teams here and here. She marked locations. But if they're smart, they'll have counter-surveillance. We move on them there. We risk losing the whole operation. We're not moving on them, Victor said. We're letting them take Lena. The room went silent. Lena's voice came out smaller than she intended. Excuse me? They want you in a controlled environment, somewhere they can apply pressure without witnesses. If we intercept at the coffee shop, we get foot soldiers. But if we let them take you somewhere private, somewhere they feel safe... He met her eyes. That's when the real players show themselves. You want to use me as bait, actual, physical bait. I want to give you a wire, a tracker, and a panic button that will bring a tactical team down on them in under 60 seconds. You'll never be in real danger. Never is a strong word for a situation where I'm being kidnapped by mobsters. Marcus spoke up. It's the only way to get past their security protocols. They compartmentalize everything. The guys who burned your shop don't know who ordered it. The guy on the phone doesn't make decisions, just follows them. We need to climb the chain, and that means penetrating their inner circle. By feeding me to them. By letting them think they've won, Victor corrected. You show up at the coffee shop, cooperative and scared. They take you somewhere for the signing, but instead of documents, they apply pressure. Try to find out what you know, who you've talked to, whether you're a liability. And when they realize I've been working with you. They won't, because you won't tell them. You'll be a terrified woman who just wants this nightmare to end. You'll sign whatever they put in front of you. And when they let you go, and they will let you go because you're no longer a threat, we'll have recordings, locations, and direct evidence of coercion. Lena wanted to argue. Wanted to say this was insane, that she wasn't trained for this, that one wrong word or gesture could get her killed. But she looked around the room at the maps and monitors, at the careful planning, at Victor's absolute certainty. What if they search me, find the wire? They won't. The technology is sophisticated, undetectable to standard sweeps. Kira pulled out what looked like a simple button. This goes on your shirt, broadcasts audio to our receivers. And this, she held up a slim bracelet, has the tracker and panic trigger. Twist it counterclockwise twice and we come running. 60 seconds, you said. Or less. We'll have people positioned at every possible location within a 2-mile radius. The moment you trigger it, they move. Lena turned to Victor. You've done this before. Many times. Has anyone ever died? His pause was infinitesimal, but she caught it. Not anyone we were protecting. It wasn't the reassurance she'd hoped for, but it was honest. And in this new world she'd fallen into, honesty seemed more valuable than comfort. Okay, she said. I'll do it. The rest of the night blurred into preparation. Kira taught her how to wear the wire naturally, how to position herself to optimize audio quality, how to trigger the panic button without telegraphing the movement. Marcus walked her through interrogation basics, how to answer questions without revealing too much, how to use body language to seem compliant, how to recognize when a situation was turning violent. The key is making them believe you're not worth the effort, he explained. You're already beaten, already cooperative. Hurting you would be wasted energy. And if they hurt me anyway, then you trigger the panic button and hold on. We'll get there. Victor stayed mostly silent during the training, watching from the periphery. Only when the others had left did he approach her. You don't have to do this, he said quietly. We can find another way. In how much time? They're expecting me tomorrow morning. If I don't show, they'll know something's wrong. Then you disappear. New identity, new city, new life. I have resources. I can make it happen. Lena studied him. Is that what your sister would have done? Disappeared? His jaw tightened. My sister is dead because she didn't disappear. No, she's dead because Volkov killed her. There's a difference. Lena moved closer. You told me revenge doesn't help. But that's not true, is it? It's the only thing that helps. The only thing that makes the loss mean something. Revenge won't bring her back. No, but it might stop him from taking someone else's sister, someone else's father, someone else's life. She paused. I'm doing this, Victor, with or without your support. He looked at her for a long moment, something shifting in his expression. You're not what I expected. What did you expect? Someone who'd run. Someone who'd take the money and disappear. His voice softened. Someone who'd choose survival over justice. Maybe I am choosing survival. Just a different kind. Lena touched the button hidden on her shirt. I can't go back to who I was. That person is gone. But maybe I can become someone who fights back. Victor's smile was sad and proud at once. My sister would have liked you. That night, Lena couldn't sleep. She stood on the balcony wrapped in a borrowed coat, watching the city lights and thinking about the path that had led her here. A month ago, her biggest worry had been whether the Valentine's Day roses would arrive on time. Now she was preparing to walk into a trap, armed with nothing but a wire and blind faith in a man she'd known for 3 days. The sliding door opened behind her. Victor stepped out, 2 mugs in hand. Coffee, he said. Figured you could use it. It's 2 a.m. Exactly. They stood in silence for a while, the cold air sharp and clarifying. Tell me about her, Lena said finally. Your sister. Victor was quiet so long she thought he wouldn't answer. Then, Elena. She was younger than me by 8 years. Brilliant, fearless. She saw injustice and couldn't let it go. That's what made her a great journalist. It's also what got her killed. How did she find Volkov? She was investigating a series of disappearances in the Russian community. Young women, mostly. They'd vanish, and their families would be too scared to push for answers. Elena kept digging, found connections to trafficking, to money laundering, to a network that went deeper than anyone suspected. He paused. She came to me 2 weeks before she died, said she had evidence that could bring down the whole operation, asked me to help her publish it safely. What did you say? I told her to wait, to let me verify the information, to make sure she wasn't walking into a trap. His voice went hollow. She said she'd already waited too long, that every day she delayed, more women disappeared. She was going to publish with or without my help. So you helped. I started verifying her sources, building corroboration, making sure the story would hold up legally. He stared at the city. I was thorough, careful. And while I was being careful, she died. Lena heard the weight in those words, the guilt that no amount of revenge could erase. It wasn't your fault. I know, but knowing doesn't help. He turned to her. That's why I need you to understand what you're walking into tomorrow. This isn't a game. These people are professionals. They've killed before. They'll kill again. And if something goes wrong, you'll get me out, 60 seconds or less. You promised. Promises mean nothing if I'm wrong. If they search you differently than we expect. If they take you somewhere our teams can't reach quickly. If they decide you're more valuable as a message than as a seller. He set down his mug. I couldn't protect Elena. I won't survive failing to protect you too. The confession hung between them, raw and honest. Then don't fail, Lena said simply. I'm choosing to trust you, Victor. Don't make me regret it. Morning came too fast and too slow. Lena dressed in the clothes Kira had selected, professional but worn, the outfit of someone who'd been through hell and barely survived. The wire went on first, the button positioned perfectly on her blouse. The bracelet looked like costume jewelry, unremarkable and forgettable. Test, Kira said into her earpiece. Lena cleared her throat. Testing? Perfect. Remember, we can hear everything. You're never alone in there. Victor handed her a folder containing photocopies of property documents, real enough to pass casual inspection, fake enough to be worthless legally. If they ask for originals, tell them they're in your attorney's possession. Stall for time. And if they don't believe me, then you panic button and we extract you. His eyes met hers. But it won't come to that. You're going to be perfect. The coffee shop was 3 blocks from her bank, a generic chain location that should have felt safe in its mundanity. Lena sat at a corner table, the folder in front of her, and waited. 9:30 came and went. 9:45. 10 o'clock. Victor's voice came through the nearly invisible earpiece. "They're making you wait. Testing your nerves. Stay calm." At 10:15, a woman approached. Mid-40s, business suit, pleasant smile. Everything about her screamed legitimate professional. "Ms. Carter, I'm Jennifer Moss, representing Harbor Point Development. I'm so sorry for the delay. Traffic was terrible." Lena stood, letting her hand shake slightly as they shook. "It's fine. I just want to get this over with." "Of course. This must be incredibly stressful." Jennifer's sympathy seemed genuine. "I thought we might go somewhere more private to review the documents. My office is just a few blocks away." Every instinct screamed danger. But Lena thought of Elena, of all the women who'd disappeared because someone like Volkov thought they were disposable. She thought of her father's shop in ashes and the casual cruelty of that funeral lily. "Okay," she said. "Let's go." The office turned out to be a renovated brownstone in a neighborhood that had seen better decades. Professional on the outside, but the windows were tinted dark and there were no visible security cameras, or rather, no visible legal ones. Jennifer led her to a third-floor conference room. Nice furniture, abstract art, everything calculated to seem legitimate. But Lena noticed the reinforced door, the lack of windows, the way Jennifer positioned herself between Lena and the exit. "Please, sit. Can I get you anything? Water? Coffee?" "I'm fine." Lena set the folder on the table with trembling hands. "I brought the documents you requested." "Wonderful. Let me just—" Jennifer opened the folder, scanned the contents. Her pleasant expression never wavered, but something changed in her eyes. "These are photocopies. My attorney has the originals, for security." "I see. And your attorney's name?" Lena rattled off the name of her actual lawyer, the one who'd stopped returning calls months ago. "He's been handling my father's estate. All the property transfers went through him." Jennifer smiled, set down the papers. "Ms. Carter, I need to be honest with you. My employers are concerned." "About what?" "About whether you're being entirely truthful with us. You see, we've made a very generous offer. More than generous, considering your circumstances. But generous offers come with expectations of good faith. I'm acting in good faith. I want to sell. I need to sell." "Then why did you wait until after the fire? Why not accept our previous offers?" "Because I was trying to save my business. I didn't want to give up." Lena let real emotion bleed into her voice. "But I can't fight anymore. I have nothing left." Jennifer stood, moved to the door. "Would you excuse me for just a moment? I need to make a quick call." She left. The door clicked shut with a sound that suggested more than a simple latch. Lena sat very still, heart pounding. Victor's voice came through the earpiece. "You're doing great. Stay calm. We have your location. Teams are in position." Minutes ticked by. 5, 10, 15. When the door opened again, Jennifer wasn't alone. 2 men entered with her, both large, both carrying themselves with the casual confidence of people accustomed to violence. "Ms. Carter," Jennifer said, her pleasant tone gone. "We need to have a more direct conversation." Lena's hand moved toward the bracelet. Victor's voice. "Not yet. Hold position. We need more." One of the men circled behind her. The other remained by the door. "Where have you been for the past 3 days?" Jennifer asked. "At my apartment, trying to figure out what to do." "Interesting, because we've had people watching your apartment. You haven't been there." Lena's mind raced. "I stayed with a friend. I couldn't face the place alone after everything." "What friend?" "Sarah. Sarah Mitchell. We went to high school together." It was the truth. Sarah had moved to California years ago, impossible to verify quickly. Jennifer pulled out a phone, made a call, spoke quietly in Russian. Lena caught only fragments, but the tone was clear. They were checking her story, calling her bluff. The man behind her put a hand on her shoulder, heavy, threatening. "Here's what's going to happen," Jennifer said. "You're going to tell us exactly where you've been, who you've talked to, and whether you've involved law enforcement. If you're honest, this ends pleasantly. If you lie—" She nodded to the men. "Well, We have ways of encouraging honesty. Lena's fingers touched the bracelet. Victor's voice. We're ready, on your signal. But something made her hesitate. Jennifer had made a call, spoken to someone in Russian, someone who would have information, who made decisions, who was part of the chain Victor needed to climb. If Lena triggered the panic button now, they'd get Jennifer and 2 enforcers, but they wouldn't get whoever was on that phone. I want to talk to whoever's in charge, Lena said. Jennifer's eyebrows rose. Excuse me? You keep calling people, getting permission. You're not making decisions. Lena forced steel into her voice. I'll answer questions, but only for the person who actually matters. It was a gamble. A massive, potentially fatal gamble. But she saw Jennifer's expression shift, surprise, then something like respect. You have spine, Jennifer said. Most people are crying by now. I'm not most people, and I'm not stupid enough to think you're the top of the chain. Lena met her gaze. So either put me on the phone with your boss or let me walk, because I'm not playing games with middle management. The room went very quiet. Victor's voice in her ear was tight with controlled panic. Lena, what are you doing? Jennifer studied her for a long moment. Then she made another call, spoke briefly, listened. Her expression changed, surprise, then calculation. She handed Lena the phone. Someone wants to speak with you. Lena took it with steady hands. Hello? The voice that answered was male, accented, and utterly calm. Ms. Carter, you've been causing quite a bit of trouble. I've been trying to survive. There's a difference. Indeed. My associate tells me you want to speak to someone in charge. Very bold. Or very foolish. Maybe both, but I'm tired of talking to people who can't actually help me. A soft laugh. I can appreciate directness. Very well. I am Dmitry Volkov, and you have exactly 2 minutes to convince me why I shouldn't have Jennifer's associates break both your hands. Lena's blood turned to ice, but she thought of Victor, listening, thought of the teams waiting, thought of Elena, who died trying to expose this man. Because I can help you, she said. I know you want my property for your development. I know the fire was meant to force a sale, and I know that if this deal falls apart, you lose months of planning and millions in projected revenue. Silence. Then, continue. I'll sign, give you everything you want, but I need protection. From what? From whoever burned my shop, because if they're willing to commit arson in the middle of the city, they're willing to make sure I don't become a future problem. And a dead seller creates more legal complications than a cooperative one. More silence. Lena could almost hear him thinking. You're more intelligent than I gave you credit for, Volkov said finally. Jennifer, bring her to the estate. I'll handle this personally. The line went dead. Jennifer took back the phone, her expression unreadable. It seems you've impressed someone very difficult to impress. Congratulations. Or condolences. I'm not sure which is more appropriate. Lena's hand found the bracelet, twisted it counterclockwise. Once. Twice. Victor's voice came through immediately. Signal received. We're tracking. Hold tight. One of the men grabbed her arm. Let's go. As they led her toward the door, Lena caught her reflection in the darkened window, pale, frightened, but still standing, still fighting. She'd gotten what Victor needed, direct contact with Volkov, a location, evidence. Now she just had to survive long enough for it to matter. The car waiting outside was a black SUV with tinted windows. They put her in the back seat, Jennifer on one side, a guard on the other. The doors locked with a solid thunk that sounded like a coffin ceiling. As they pulled into traffic, Lena stared out at the city passing by and wondered if she'd just made the smartest move of her life, or signed her own death warrant. The pattern emerged 3 days after Lena rejected the offer. She sat in Victor's command center, eyes burning from hours staring at financial records, and finally saw what everyone else had missed. The numbers told a story, not just of money laundering, but of something far more sophisticated. It's not random, she said, her voice cutting through the low hum of computer equipment. Look at the timing. Every property acquisition corresponds with a major shipment at the commercial port. Not the same day, but within 72 hours. Victor moved behind her, studying the screen over her shoulder. So the real estate deals are cover for port operations. More than cover, they're the distribution network. Lena's fingers flew across the keyboard. pulling up shipping manifests she'd spent the morning decrypting. Harbor Point Development doesn't just own buildings. They own warehouses, logistics companies, trucking operations. Volkov's not just laundering money through real estate, he's using the properties to move product. Kira whistled low from her station across the room. That's brilliant. Customs watches the ports, DEA watches known dealers, but nobody's monitoring legitimate commercial real estate transactions. Until now. Victor's hand settled on Lena's shoulder, a brief pressure of approval. This changes everything. We're not just looking at financial crimes anymore. This is trafficking, smuggling, RICO violations, federal charges that can't be plea bargained away. There's more. Lena pulled up another file, this one showing construction permits and contractor licenses. 3 of the properties they forced owners to sell have had extensive renovations, major structural work that required closing entire blocks. But if you look at the permits, the work took twice as long as it should have. Why? Because they weren't just renovating. Victor's voice went cold. They were building infrastructure, hidden storage, modified loading docks, tunnel access to adjacent properties. Your father's shop, Kira said to Lena, realization dawning. It sits on the corner of that block, perfect location for controlling access to the whole network. The weight of it settled over Lena like a shroud. Her father's legacy hadn't just been inconvenient to Volkov's plans, it had been essential. They'd needed that specific property, that exact location, and they'd been willing to destroy everything she had to get it. How long? She asked quietly. How long have they been planning this? Victor pulled up a timeline. First property acquisition was 18 months ago. Your father was still alive then, still running the shop successfully. The implication hung in the air, heavy and terrible. No. Lena stood abruptly, chair scraping against polished concrete. I'm not suggesting anything. I'm showing you facts. Victor's tone remained neutral, but his eyes held something darker. Your father died of a heart attack 7 months ago. Sudden. Unexpected. He was 62, healthy, no prior cardiac issues. People have heart attacks. It happens. It does. And sometimes they're helped along. He pulled up another file, this one a medical examiner's report. I pulled his autopsy results. Standard toxicology screen came back clean, but they didn't test for everything. Lena's hands trembled as she took the report. The words blurred together, clinical language describing her father's final moments. Cause of death. Acute myocardial infarction. Contributing factors. Stress. Possible underlying condition. Possible, Victor said softly. Not confirmed, because nobody looked deeper. Why would they? He was a small business owner under financial pressure. Heart attack made sense. You think they killed him? The words tasted like ash. I think they removed an obstacle. Your father wouldn't have sold. He built that shop from nothing, poured 30 years of his life into it, so they eliminated him and waited for you to collapse under the debt. When you didn't collapse fast enough, they accelerated the timeline. Rage crystallized in Lena's chest, sharp and consuming. She thought about her father's funeral, about standing in the rain while they lowered him into the ground, about the hollow ache of grief that had nearly destroyed her. And all along, it might have been murder disguised as misfortune. I want proof, she said. If they killed him, I want absolute proof. Exhumation would require a court order, evidence of foul play. We don't have enough for that. Not yet. Victor's voice gentled slightly. But if we take down Volkov's entire operation, if we force him into the open and make him desperate, people talk. Associates turn. Secrets surface. We might never prove what happened to your father, but we can make sure it never happens to anyone else. That's not enough. It's all I can offer. Lena stared at her father's autopsy report, at the sanitized description of his death, and felt something fundamental shift inside her. She'd thought this was about survival, about protecting herself and destroying the people who'd threatened her, but it was bigger than that now, deeper, more personal than she'd imagined possible. Then we make it enough, she said. We tear apart everything Volkov built, every property, every operation, every connection, and we make him watch while it burns. Victor studied her for a long moment. You understand what you're committing to. This isn't just about feeding information to law enforcement and walking away. You're talking about total war. I know exactly what I'm talking about. Good, he turned to Kira. Start mapping the port operations. I want shipping schedules, warehouse locations, trucking routes, everything. Already on it, Kira said, fingers dancing across her keyboard. But Victor, if we're moving against the distribution network, they're going to know. This isn't subtle detective work anymore. This is a declaration. Let them know. Victor's smile was cold and precise. We've been reactive long enough. Time to make them respond to us. The plan came together over the next 12 hours, complex and ruthless in its efficiency. Victor had resources Lena was only beginning to understand. Former military operatives, cyber specialists, people who existed in the gray spaces between legal and criminal. They moved through his penthouse like ghosts, preparing for something that felt less like justice and more like an execution. We hit 3 targets simultaneously, Victor explained, laying out the strategy on a digital map. The main warehouse at the port, the logistics hub downtown, and Volkov's personal office. Take out his infrastructure, seize his records, and trap him between federal investigators and his own people's anger. That's insane, Lena said. You're talking about raiding 3 secure locations at once. You'd need 12 people. I have 14 on standby, plus you. Me? She laughed, sharp and disbelieving. I'm not a soldier. I wouldn't know where to start. You're not coming for the raid. You're coming because you understand the financial systems better than anyone. Once we're inside, you'll know what records to grab, what matters, and what's distraction. Victor's gaze held hers. And because this is your fight as much as mine, you deserve to see it through. The weight of his words settled over her. He was right. This wasn't his vendetta anymore. It was hers. Her father. Her shop. Her life burned to ashes. She'd earned her place in this reckoning. When? She asked. Tomorrow night. Volkov's hosting a charity gala at the Grand Meridian Hotel. Half the city's elite will be there, including most of his key associates. While he's playing philanthropist, we dismantle his empire. He'll have security. He will. But security is designed to protect against external threats, not someone already inside. Victor pulled up a photo. A young woman, mid-20s, dark hair, sharp eyes. This is Natasha, Volkov's younger sister. She lives in a secured apartment building, travels with bodyguards, exists in a gilded cage. Lena studied the photograph, noting the resemblance to the man who'd destroyed her life. What about her? She's our leverage. Volkov built this empire to give her the life their family never had in Russia. Everything he's done, every crime he's committed, it all funnels back to protecting her. If we can get to Natasha, we control him. You want to kidnap his sister? Lena's voice rose. That's insurance, Victor finished calmly. And information. Natasha isn't innocent. She manages his offshore accounts, coordinates with international contacts. She knows where bodies are buried, literally and figuratively. With the right pressure, she'll talk. This is crossing a line. We crossed that line when you got in my car, when you chose to fight instead of flee, when you decided Volkov deserved to burn for what he did. Victor's expression didn't change. I won't force you to participate, but I won't apologize for doing what's necessary to win. Lena thought about her father, about the possibility that his death hadn't been natural, about the systematic cruelty of Volkov's operation, the lives destroyed, the families broken. Victor was right. They'd already crossed lines she couldn't uncross. The only question now was how far she was willing to go. How do we get to her? She asked quietly. Victor's smile was sharp as broken glass. Very carefully. The next 18 hours blurred together in final preparations. Victor's team moved with military precision, each person assigned specific roles, contingencies planned for every conceivable complication. Lena watched them work, feeling simultaneously awed and terrified by the machinery she'd set in motion. You holding up? Kira asked, finding Lena on the balcony as evening fell. I don't know. Lena wrapped her arms around herself against the cold. 24 hours ago, I was a florist. Now I'm planning a coordinated strike against a criminal empire. How does that happen? Gradually, then all at once. Kira leaned against the railing. You know there's still time to walk away, right? Victor would protect you, set you up somewhere safe. You don't have to see this through. Yes, I do. Why? Because of your father? Because of revenge? Because someone has to. Lena met Kira's gaze. How many other people has Volkov destroyed? How many other families? If I walk away now, if I let fear stop me, then what was the point of surviving this long? Kira was quiet for a moment. Victor said you were stubborn. He undersold it. Is that a compliment? It's an observation. Stubbornness can get you killed in this world. So can cowardice. Fair point. Kira pushed off the railing. For what it's worth, I think you're brave. Stupid maybe, but brave. Lena laughed despite herself. I'll take it. The operation launched at 9 p.m., precisely when Volkov's gala reached its peak. Lena rode in Victor's car, dressed in black tactical gear that felt foreign against her skin, earpiece crackling with team communications. They weren't heading to the port or the logistics hub. That was the distraction. They were going after Natasha. Team Alpha in position at the warehouse, a voice reported through the comm. Team Bravo approaching the logistics hub, another added. Acknowledged, Victor said calmly. Charlie team, status? We're at the apartment building. No unusual activity. Target appears to be home. Good. Move on my signal. Victor glanced at Lena. You remember the plan? We get into Natasha's apartment, secure her cooperation, extract what we need from her records. Simple. Lena's voice was steadier than she felt. Nothing about this is simple, but you've got good instincts. Trust them. He touched his earpiece. All teams, this is Victor. Operation Reckoning is live. Execute. The world exploded into controlled chaos. Through the comm chatter, Lena heard Team Alpha breach the warehouse. Team Bravo cut power to the logistics hub. Alarms shrieked, shouts echoed, and Victor's car slid smoothly toward Natasha Volkov's building, a tower of glass and steel in the city's financial district. Building security is compromised, Kira's voice crackled through. You've got a 12-minute window before the response team arrives. Plenty of time, Victor said, already moving. Lena followed him into the building, through the pristine lobby with its marble floors and modern art. The night guard was slumped at his desk. Not dead, Lena noted with relief, just unconscious. Victor's people had already neutralized the immediate threats. The elevator ride to the penthouse felt eternal. Lena's heart hammered against her ribs, adrenaline singing through her veins. This was insane. They were breaking into a criminal kingpin's sister's home, planning to coerce her into betraying her brother. This wasn't justice. It was vigilantism at best, terrorism at worst. But then she thought about her father, and the doubt crystallized into resolve. The penthouse door opened before they reached it. Natasha Volkov stood in the entrance, gun in hand, expression cold and controlled. I was wondering when you'd come, she said in accented English. Victor Reigns, I've heard much about you. Victor's own weapon appeared in his hand with practiced ease. Then you know I'm serious. And you know I am too. Natasha's aim didn't waver. My brother warned me you might try something dramatic. He underestimated your audacity, though. Attacking 3 locations simultaneously? Impressive. Your brother is at a gala right now, playing philanthropist while his empire crumbles. By morning, federal agents will have enough evidence to charge him with trafficking, money laundering, and about 40 other felonies. Victor's voice remained calm. You can go down with him, or you can save yourself. Your choice. There's always a choice. Natasha's gaze shifted to Lena. And you, the florist who refused to sell? My brother said you were stubborn. He was right. He killed my father, Lena said, the words emerging with surprising steadiness. Or had him killed. Either way, he destroyed my life. So yes, I'm stubborn, and I'm here to make sure he pays for what he did. Something flickered across Natasha's face. Surprise, maybe, or recognition. Your father, the flower shop owner, Dmitri said it was necessary, that the old man wouldn't listen to reason. The confirmation hit Lena like a physical blow. She'd suspected, feared, but hearing it confirmed, hearing this woman casually discuss her father's murder as a business decision, ignited something feral in her chest. Put down the gun, she said, her voice dropping to something cold and lethal. Or I swear to you, your brother won't be the only Volkov who suffers tonight. Natasha studied her for a long moment, then slowly lowered her weapon. You mean it. You actually mean it. Every word. Then perhaps we can talk. Natasha stepped aside, gesturing them into the penthouse. But quickly, my brother's people will realize something is wrong soon enough. The apartment was as luxurious as Victor's, but warmer, lived in. Photographs lined the walls, Natasha and Dmitry as children, standing in front of a concrete apartment building that spoke of Soviet-era poverty. The contrast between those images and the current opulence was striking. "He did this for you," Lena said, understanding clicking into place. "All of it. The criminal empire, the violence. He was trying to give you the life you never had." "Yes." Natasha moved to a window overlooking the city. "And I hate him for it. Every day I hate what he's become, what he's made me become." Victor's gun remained trained on her. "If you hate it so much, why not walk away?" "Because he's my brother. Because he sacrificed everything for me. Because I'm trapped, just as surely as every property owner he's crushed." She turned and Lena saw genuine anguish in her eyes. "You think I don't know what he is? What we are? I manage his blood money. I coordinate with monsters. I'm complicit in every terrible thing he does." "Then help us stop him," Lena said. "And then what? I go to prison too? Spend the rest of my life paying for his sins?" "Maybe." Victor lowered his weapon slightly. "Or maybe you get immunity in exchange for testimony. Maybe you get to start over somewhere he can't reach you. Maybe you get to become someone who isn't defined by his crimes." Natasha laughed bitterly. "You make it sound so simple." "It's not simple. It's terrifying and uncertain and probably going to hurt like hell. But it's a choice. Your choice. Not his." Victor pulled out a tablet, showed her the evidence they'd compiled. "We have enough to destroy him without you. But with your testimony, with your access to his offshore accounts and international contacts, we can make sure he never hurts anyone again, ever. He'll kill me when he realizes what I've done." "He'll try," Victor agreed. "But I'm very good at keeping people alive who need protecting. It's kind of my specialty." Natasha took the tablet with shaking hands, scrolling through the evidence. Lena watched emotions play across her face. Fear, anger, something that might have been relief. "There's a safe," Natasha said finally, "in my bedroom. Combination is 08-15-1991. Inside you'll find ledgers, account numbers, encryption keys for Dmitry's communications, everything you need to trace his entire operation." "Why that date?" Lena asked. "It's when the Soviet Union began to collapse. When everything Dmitry thought he understood about the world fell apart." Natasha's smile was sad. "He's been trying to rebuild it ever since, just in a different form." Victor was already moving toward the bedroom. Lena stayed with Natasha, studying the woman who'd been both victim and accomplice to her father's death. "I'm sorry," Natasha said quietly. "About your father. For what it's worth, I argued against it. Told Dmitry there had to be another way, but he doesn't listen to me. Not about business." "He should have." Lena's voice was hard. "Because business just became personal. And now he's going to lose everything." "Good." Natasha met her gaze. "He deserves to lose. We both do." Victor emerged with an armful of documents, a laptop, and several external hard drives. "This is incredible. Financial records going back a decade. Shipping manifests, communications with international partners. Natasha, this is everything," she finished. "Yes, I know. I kept it all. Insurance, I told myself. Evidence, really. I think part of me always knew this day would come." "Team Alpha has the warehouse secured," Kira's voice crackled through the comms. "Federal agents are en route. ETA 4 minutes. Team Bravo encountered resistance at the logistics hub," another voice reported. 2 injuries, but situation contained, evidence secured." Victor touched his earpiece. "All teams begin extraction. Phase 2 is complete. Rendezvous at Safe House Delta." "What about me?" Natasha asked. "You're coming with us. Protective custody until we can arrange a deal with the prosecutor's office." Victor gathered the materials. "Pack essentials. You've got 3 minutes. Dmitry will know it was me the moment he realizes these records are missing." "Yes, which is why you can never go back, never contact him, never give him the chance to find you." Victor's expression softened slightly. "I know that's hard, but it's the price of freedom." Natasha nodded slowly, then disappeared into her bedroom. Lena heard drawers opening, the sound of hurried packing. "You believe her?" she asked Victor quietly. "That she wants out?" "I believe she's terrified. Whether that translates to genuine cooperation or self-preservation, we'll find out." He handed Lena one of the hard drives. But these records are real. Whatever her motivation, she just gave us the keys to Volkov's kingdom. They extracted from the building with 2 minutes to spare, sliding into Victor's car just as building security began to recover. Natasha sat in the back seat, clutching a single bag, looking smaller and younger than her photograph suggested. "My brother is at the Grand Meridian Hotel," she said as they pulled into traffic. "He'll have noticed the disturbance by now. His people will have reported the raids." "Let him notice," Victor said. "Let him panic. Let him realize his empire is collapsing and there's nothing he can do to stop it. You don't understand. When Dmitri panics, people die. He'll lash out, make examples, hurt anyone he thinks might have betrayed him. His associates are already scattering. We made sure of that." Kira's voice came through the comms. "The moment word spread about federal raids, half his network went dark. He's got no one left to lash out at." "He has me," Natasha whispered. "And when he realizes I'm gone, when he understands what I've done." She looked at Lena with haunted eyes. "He'll come for everyone I've ever cared about, everyone who might have helped me. He won't stop until he's destroyed them all." Lena felt ice crystallize in her veins. "How many people are we talking about?" "A dozen, maybe more. Old friends from Russia, a cousin in Brooklyn, the woman who runs the bakery where I buy bread every Sunday." Natasha's voice cracked. "He'll kill them all just to punish me." "Then we get to them first," Victor said, already making calls. "Kira, I need locations on everyone in Natasha's contact list. Immediate protective extraction. Full priority." "On it." "But Victor, we're stretched thin. 3 simultaneous raids, evidence processing, now protective custody for multiple civilians. We don't have the manpower." "Then hire more. Pull favors. Do whatever it takes." His voice was steel. "Nobody dies tonight. Not on my watch." The next hours became a desperate race against time. Victor's network mobilized with impressive efficiency, pulling people from their homes, their jobs, their lives. A baker in Brooklyn, a graduate student in Boston, a retired teacher in Queens. All of them connected to Natasha in some way. All of them potential targets for Volkov's rage. Lena found herself coordinating logistics from Victor's mobile command center, her mind falling into familiar patterns of organization and problem solving. It was like managing a complex supply chain, except instead of flowers, she was routing human lives to safety. "Mrs. Petrov secured from Brighton Beach," a voice reported. "Mikhail Sokolov extracted from Columbia University campus. The bakery owner is refusing to leave, says she's not afraid of Dmitri Volkov." "Tell her she should be," Natasha said quietly, listening to the reports. "Tell her what he did to the last person who defied him." Lena glanced at her. "What did he do?" "Made her watch while he burned down her son's restaurant, with her son inside." Natasha's voice was flat, dead. "Then he bought her a new house and sent flowers to the funeral. That's who my brother is. Generous and monstrous in equal measure." The casualness of it, the matter-of-fact description of murder, sent chills down Lena's spine. This was the world she'd stepped into. This was the enemy she'd chosen to fight. "The bakery owner is en route to Safe House Charlie," the voice reported finally. Victor nodded, checking his tablet. "That's everyone on the immediate threat list. Kira, status on Volkov?" "He left the gala 20 minutes ago, currently traveling with full security detail toward his personal residence. Guess he figured out something's wrong. Let him run home. Let him see what we've taken." Victor's smile was cold. "Let him understand that he's already lost." Natasha made a small, pained sound. "You don't know him. This won't break him. It'll just make him more dangerous." "Good," Lena said, surprising herself with the venom in her voice. "Let him be dangerous. Let him lash out. Let him make mistakes, because every move he makes now just gives us more evidence, more ammunition to destroy him completely." Natasha stared at her. "You really do want him dead?" "I want him to pay for what he did. If that means death, prison, or exile, I don't care. As long as he suffers the way he made others suffer." "You sound like my brother when he talks about his enemies." The comparison stung, but Lena didn't flinch. "Maybe, but I'm not killing innocent people to build an empire. I'm tearing down the empire of someone who did." "Is there a difference? Vengeance is vengeance. There's always a difference between the person who throws the first punch and the person who finishes the fight." Victor's phone rang, cutting off whatever Natasha might have said. He answered, listened, his expression darkening with each second. When? He asked. How many casualties? Lena's stomach dropped. Something had gone wrong. Understood. Lock down the scene. Nobody in or out until federal agents arrive. He ended the call, jaw tight. There's been an attack on Safe House Bravo, the one housing Volkov's former accountant and his family. Casualties? Kira asked. 2 of our security personnel dead. The family is missing. Natasha closed her eyes. He has them. Dmitri has them. And he'll use them as leverage to get what he wants. Which is? Me. His records. And everyone who helped you tonight delivered to him with apologies. She looked at Victor. He'll make an offer, exchange the accountant's family for everything you took. And if you refuse, he'll send them back piece by piece. We don't negotiate with terrorists, Victor said flatly. Then that family dies, and their blood is on your hands just as much as his. The weight of it crashed over Lena, the complexity of this war, the impossible choices, the realization that there were no clean victories. Every move had consequences. Every decision meant someone lived or died. There has to be another way, she said. There isn't. Victor's voice was grim. This is what I tried to tell you. This is what fighting monsters looks like. Sometimes innocent people get hurt. Sometimes we have to make terrible choices. And sometimes we lose. No. Lena stood, her mind racing. Volkov wants leverage. He wants to trade. So we give him what he wants. Absolutely not, Victor said. If we hand over those records, we don't hand over the records, we hand over me. The room went silent. That's insane, Kira said. It's suicide, Victor added. It's the only play we have. Lena's voice was steady now, certain. Volkov doesn't know me, doesn't know what I look like beyond maybe some surveillance photos. Natasha can coach me on his personality, his tells, his weaknesses. I go in pretending to be a negotiator, get close enough to plant surveillance equipment, maybe even get him talking on record. Meanwhile, your team rescues the hostages. And what happens when he realizes you're not who you claim to be? Victor demanded. When he figures out you're the florist who started this entire cascade, he'll kill you. Maybe. Or maybe I'm exactly the distraction you need to finish this. She met his gaze. You said yourself, we're at war. Soldiers take risks. You're not a soldier. No, but I'm the one who started this fight, and I'm going to see it through. Victor looked like he wanted to argue, but something in her expression stopped him. He turned to Natasha. Would it work? Could she pull it off? Natasha studied Lena with new appreciation. My brother respects strength, courage. If she can face him without flinching, if she can negotiate like she has power, yes. It might work. Long enough for your team to move anyway. This is a terrible idea, Victor said, but Lena could hear the calculation in his voice. He was already planning it, already figuring out how to make it work. It's the only idea we have, Lena countered. Unless you've got a better one? He didn't, and they all knew it. The plan came together quickly, too quickly for Lena to second-guess herself. Natasha provided details about Volkov's behavior, his pride, his pressure points. Kira equipped her with hidden recording devices and a GPS tracker, and Victor briefed his tactical team on the extraction operation that would launch the moment Lena made contact. You understand the risks? Victor asked her privately, in the quiet moment before everything began. I understand that people are going to die if I don't do this. That's risk enough. Lena. His hand caught hers, warm and steady. If something goes wrong, then you finish what we started. You take down Volkov. You make sure my father didn't die for nothing. She squeezed his hand. Promise me. I promise. His voice was rough. But you're coming back. You hear me? You're not dying for this. I don't plan to. Good. Because I'm not done with you yet. The words hung between them, weighted with meaning neither had time to explore. Then Kira was calling that everything was ready, and the moment shattered into action. Lena climbed into a nondescript sedan, dressed in business attire that made her look professional and unthreatening. The recording devices were invisible, the GPS tracker embedded in her watch. She looked like a corporate negotiator, felt like a woman walking toward her own execution. The drive to Volkov's personal residence took 20 minutes through city streets that felt surreal in their normalcy. People walked dogs. Couples held hands. Life continued, unaware that somewhere in the darkness, a war was being waged. The mansion appeared through iron gates, a monument to excess, all marble columns and imported stone. Security was visible but not overwhelming. Volkov was confident, arrogant. He believed he'd already won. Lena was going to teach him otherwise. She stepped out of the car, spine straight, expression composed. The guards at the gate checked her identification, fake credentials Victor had provided, listing her as a federal mediator. "Mr. Volkov is expecting you," one guard said, leading her through manicured gardens. Inside the mansion was exactly what she expected, opulent to the point of obscenity, every surface gleaming with wealth. And at the center of it all, in a study lined with leather-bound books he'd probably never read, sat Dmitry Volkov. He was smaller than she expected. Older. The photographs hadn't captured the weariness in his eyes, the weight of violence he carried. "Ms. Chen," he said, using her false name. "Thank you for coming. I believe we have much to discuss." Lena sat across from him, every nerve singing with adrenaline and terror and fierce burning purpose. "Yes," she said calmly, "I believe we do." And the final game began. Dmitry Volkov poured vodka into crystal glasses with hands that didn't shake. The steadiness should have been reassuring. Instead, it made Lena's skin crawl. Here was a man so comfortable with violence that even losing his empire couldn't rattle him. "You'll forgive the informal setting," he said, sliding a glass across the mahogany desk. "But given the evening's disruptions, I thought privacy was more important than protocol." Lena accepted the glass but didn't drink. "Mr. Volkov, I'm here to facilitate an exchange, not to socialize." "Of course. Straight to business. I respect that." He settled into his chair, studying her with the focused attention of a predator assessing prey. "The Federal Mediator's Office sent you very quickly, almost as if they were expecting tonight's events. We monitor situations involving hostages. When your people took the Petrov family, you triggered protocols that brought me here." Lena kept her voice professional, detached. "Now, I understand you have terms for their release." "Terms? Yes." Volkov sipped his vodka, savoring it. "I want my sister returned to me. I want the documents and electronic files stolen from her apartment, and I want Victor Rains delivered to my doorstep with an apology for his interference in my affairs." "Those aren't terms. That's a ransom demand with delusions of grandeur." Lena set down her glass with deliberate precision. "You're in no position to make demands, Mr. Volkov. Federal agents are processing evidence from 3 of your properties right now. Your financial network is compromised. Your associates are cooperating with investigators. You've already lost." Something dangerous flickered in Volkov's eyes. "You're very confident for someone sitting in my home, surrounded by my security, with no leverage whatsoever." "I have the only leverage that matters, legal authority. You want to see your sister again? You want any chance of avoiding life in federal prison? Then you release the Petrov family unharmed. You surrender yourself for questioning, and you pray that cooperation earns you some small mercy." She leaned forward. "Because the alternative is that I walk out of here. You murder hostages on camera, and federal prosecutors add capital charges to your indictment. Your choice." The silence stretched thin and dangerous. Lena's heart hammered against her ribs, but she kept her expression neutral, her posture relaxed. Everything Natasha had taught her in the frantic hour of preparation came down to this moment. Show no fear, offer no weakness, make him believe she held cards she didn't have. Volkov laughed, sudden and genuinely amused. "You're not a federal mediator." Lena's blood turned to ice, but she didn't flinch. "Excuse me?" "Federal mediators don't threaten, they de-escalate. They use soft language and offer compromises." He stood, moving around the desk with predatory grace. "You walked in here ready for war, which means you're either the worst mediator in the Bureau or you're someone else entirely." "Mr. Volkov? Who sent you? Rains?" He circled her chair, forcing her to track him with peripheral vision. "Or perhaps you volunteered. Perhaps this is personal for you." Lena calculated her options in the space of a heartbeat. Continue the lie and lose all credibility, or pivot to a different truth. one that might buy time for Victor's team to reach the hostages. "You killed my father," she said quietly. Volkov stopped moving. "I've killed a lot of people's fathers. You'll need to be more specific." The casual admission, the complete lack of remorse, ignited something feral in Lena's chest. She stood, turning to face him directly. "Robert Carter, owner of Carter and Daughter Florals. You wanted his property. He wouldn't sell, so you stopped his heart and made it look natural." Recognition dawned on Volkov's face, followed by something that might have been respect. "The florist. The stubborn one who refused our generous offer." He studied her with new interest. "You're the daughter, Lena Carter." "Yes." "And you walked into my home, sat across from me, and tried to negotiate for hostages while pretending to be someone else." He laughed again, but there was no humor in it now. "Either you're incredibly brave or catastrophically stupid." "Both, probably." Lena's hand drifted to her watch, where the GPS tracker pulsed its silent signal. Victor would be tracking it, would know exactly where she was. She just needed to keep Volkov talking. "But I'm also right. Your empire is collapsing. Your sister betrayed you. Your only chance at any kind of future is to release those hostages and surrender." My sister didn't betray me. She was coerced, threatened. When I find everyone involved in taking her, they'll beg for death long before I grant it." Volkov moved to a sidebar, poured himself more vodka. "As for my empire, you underestimate how deep the roots go. Tonight was costly, yes, inconvenient, but hardly fatal. You're delusional if you think, I'm realistic, Ms. Carter, which is more than I can say for you." He turned, and the mask of civility finally dropped. What looked back at her was cold calculation wrapped in expensive suits. "You came here expecting to be a hero, to save innocent people and strike a blow against the villain. But you're not in a story with clean endings. You're in my world now, and in my world, heroes die badly." The door opened. 2 guards entered, weapons visible but not raised. Lena's hand tightened on her watch. "Take her to the basement," Volkov said. "Put her with the Petrov family. When Rains comes looking for his pet project, he can find them all together." "You're making a mistake," Lena said, even as hands gripped her arms. "No, Ms. Carter. You made the mistake. I'm simply capitalizing on it." They dragged her from the study, down corridors lined with art that probably cost more than most people earned in a lifetime. The basement door was reinforced steel, the kind designed to muffle screams. Lena's mind raced through scenarios, calculating odds, searching for any advantage. The basement was finished but sparse. Concrete floor, exposed pipes, a single light bulb casting harsh shadows. In the corner, huddled together, were 3 people. A man in his 50s, a woman slightly younger, and a teenage girl with terrified eyes. "New guest," one of the guards said, shoving Lena forward. She stumbled but caught herself, turning to see the steel door slam shut with the finality of a vault ceiling. "Who are you?" the man asked in accented English. "Are you with the government?" "Sort of." Lena moved to them, keeping her voice low. "You're the Petrov family?" "Yes. Mikhail Petrov. This is my wife, Elena, our daughter, Anna." His hands shook as he spoke. "They said if we cooperate, they won't hurt us. But I worked for Volkov. I know what his promises are worth." "Help is coming," Lena said with more confidence than she felt. "I'm just here to keep you safe until it arrives." "You?" Elena's laugh was sharp with hysteria. "You're locked in here with us. How can you help anyone?" Fair question. Lena checked her watch. The GPS signal was still transmitting. Victor would know she'd been moved, would adjust his plans accordingly. She just needed to keep everyone alive long enough for him to act. "How many guards upstairs?" she asked Mikhail. "I counted 8 when they brought us in, but Volkov has more, many more. He keeps a private security force." Mikhail's voice dropped. "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have taken his money, shouldn't have helped him hide his crimes. Now my family pays for my weakness." "Your family isn't paying for anything," Lena said firmly. "We're all getting out of here alive, I promise you that." Anna spoke for the first time, her voice small and scared. "My friend Tasha disappeared last year. Her father worked for Mr. Volkov, too. They said she moved to Russia, but I don't think that's true. I think—" She trailed off, but the implication hung heavy in the air. Lena thought about Natasha's earlier words, about the bakery owner's son, about the casual brutality Volkov employed to maintain control. These people had every reason to be terrified. "What did you do for Volkov?" she asked Mikhail. "I was his accountant, managed the legitimate businesses that covered the illegal operations. When federal investigators started asking questions, He swallowed hard. "I kept records. Insurance. Evidence that could protect me if things went wrong. Volkov found out. That's why we're here." "Those records, where are they now?" "Safe deposit box, Bank of Metropolitan. Only I can access it." Which meant Volkov needed him alive, at least for now. That was leverage, however small. Lena checked her watch again. 20 minutes since her capture. Victor's team would be moving into position, waiting for the optimal moment to strike. She just needed to create an opportunity, a distraction, something that would split Volkov's attention and resources. The sound of footsteps on the stairs silenced everyone. The door opened, and one of the guards gestured at Mikhail. "You, come with me." "No," Elena cried, clutching her husband's arm. "It's okay," Mikhail said, though his face had gone pale. "I'll cooperate. Just please, don't hurt my family." "That depends on how cooperative you are." The guard grabbed him, hauling him toward the door. "Wait," Lena said. "Take me instead." The guard paused. "Why would we do that?" "Because whatever Volkov wants from Mikhail, bank codes, account numbers, he's too scared to think straight right now. But I'm not scared, and I'm more valuable." She straightened, channeling every ounce of false confidence she could muster. "I worked with Victor Rains. I know his plans, his resources, his safe houses. Volkov wants that information more than he wants Mikhail's records." The guard studied her, then spoke into a radio in Russian. A response crackled back. He nodded. "Both of you, upstairs." Elena made a sound of protest, but Mikhail squeezed her hand once before releasing it. "It will be okay," he told her, though they both knew he was lying. Lena followed the guards up the stairs, Mikhail beside her. "Why did you do that?" he whispered. "Because if I'm up there, I have a chance to do something. Down here, I'm just waiting to die." They were led not back to Volkov's study, but to a different room, smaller, more intimate, with chairs bolted to the floor and drains in the concrete. An interrogation room. Lena's stomach clenched. Volkov waited inside, jacket removed, sleeves rolled up. He looked like a man preparing for hard work. "Miss Carter, Mr. Petrov, please sit." He gestured to the bolted chairs. "We have some questions to discuss." "I'll tell you whatever you want to know," Mikhail said quickly. "Just don't hurt my family." "Of course. I'm not a monster." Volkov's smile didn't reach his eyes. "But I do need assurances that you're being truthful. And unfortunately, people lie when they're comfortable. Pain has a way of encouraging honesty." "You don't need to hurt him," Lena said. "I already told you, I know Victor's operation. I can give you locations, names, everything." "I'm sure you can. And you will." Volkov pulled out a knife, small, precise, the kind used for careful work. "But first, we establish credibility. Mr. Petrov, your safe deposit box is at Bank of Metropolitan. Box number 347, Mikhail stammered, "but you need my key and signature to access it." "I have resources at the bank. They can be persuaded to overlook protocols." Volkov tested the knife's edge against his thumb. "The key?" "In my home office, hidden in a book. The Brothers Karamazov, first edition, hollowed out." "See? Cooperation is easy." Volkov turned to Lena. "Now you, Victor Rains, where is he holding my sister?" Lena calculated rapidly. She needed to give him something believable, something that would require verification, something that would buy time. "There's a safe house in Red Hook, warehouse district near the old shipping terminals. Building 17, third floor. He's holding all the people he extracted tonight there." "Building 17, Volkov made a note. "Very specific. Almost too specific." "You wanted details. I'm giving you details." "Yes. But are they true?" He moved closer, knife catching the light. "Here's what I think, Ms. Carter. I think you're stalling. I think you're wearing a GPS tracker, and right now Victor Rains and his little army are surrounding my home, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. And I think you believe that if you keep me talking long enough, they'll rescue you like some fairy tale princess. Lena's silence confirmed everything. I'm right, aren't I? Volkov's smile widened. Which means your usefulness just expired. He moved faster than she expected, knife slashing toward her. Lena jerked back, the blade catching her sleeve, slicing through fabric but missing skin. She kicked at his knee, connected, felt something crunch. Volkov grunted but didn't go down. The door burst open. Not Victor, more guards responding to the commotion. They grabbed Lena, slammed her back into the chair, held her immobile. Feisty, Volkov said, limping slightly. I appreciate that. Makes the breaking more satisfying. You won't break me. Everyone breaks eventually. It's just a question of method. He turned to Mikhail. Your family, Mr. Petrov. Your wife and daughter are downstairs, vulnerable and afraid. How much pain do you think they can endure before you tell me everything I want to know? You said you wouldn't hurt them, Mikhail's voice cracked. I lied. I do that. Volkov gestured to the guards. Bring the daughter up first. She's young. She'll scream nicely. No! Mikhail lunged from his chair, but guards restrained him. Please, I'll tell you everything. Every account, every transaction, every person I ever worked with. Just don't hurt her. Too late for bargaining. You should have cooperated immediately. Volkov nodded to one of the guards, who headed for the door. That's when the lights went out. Not just in the interrogation room, the entire mansion plunged into darkness. Emergency lighting kicked in seconds later, dim red glow that turned everything into nightmare shadows. Report, Volkov snapped into his radio. Static. Then a voice, strained and urgent, speaking rapid Russian. Volkov's expression hardened. We're under attack. All security to defensive positions. Lockdown protocol. He turned to the guards holding Lena. Get her and Petrov back to the basement. If Rains wants them so badly, let's see what he's willing to sacrifice to get them. Gunfire erupted somewhere above them, sharp, controlled bursts followed by the heavier return fire of automatic weapons. The mansion had become a war zone. The guards dragged Lena and Mikhail toward the basement stairs, but the chaos worked in their favor. One guard was pulling Lena, the other had Mikhail, and both were distracted by the sounds of combat echoing through the corridors. Lena waited for her moment, then drove her elbow back into her guard's throat. He choked, grip loosening, and she spun away. Mikhail saw what she'd done and copied it, less gracefully but effectively enough. His guard stumbled, and Mikhail brought his knee up into the man's face. Blood sprayed. The guard went down. Run! Lena grabbed Mikhail's arm, pulling him toward the stairs. Not down to the basement, but up, toward the sound of fighting, toward Victor. They burst into the main hallway to find pandemonium. Volkov's guards were exchanging fire with tactical teams that moved with military precision through the mansion. Lena recognized the style, Victor's people, executing the rescue operation she'd bought time for. Down! Someone shouted, and Lena hit the floor, dragging Mikhail with her. Bullets tore through the air above them, punching holes in priceless artwork, shattering antique vases. The obscene wealth that Volkov had built on other people's suffering was being systematically destroyed. A figure appeared through the smoke and chaos. Victor, moving like violence personified, weapon raised and firing with cold accuracy. He reached them in seconds, eyes scanning for injuries. You're alive, he said, and there was something raw in his voice. Disappointed? Lena tried for humor, but it came out shaky. Furious. We'll discuss your definition of distraction later. He pulled her to her feet, then turned to Mikhail. Your family? Basement. Still there. Team 2, basement extraction. Victor spoke into his comm. 2 hostages, female adult and juvenile. Bring them up clean. To Lena and Mikhail, stay behind me. Move when I move. Stop when I stop. Understand? They nodded. The fight through this mansion was brutal and efficient. Victor's team had the advantage of surprise and superior tactics, but Volkov's guards were defending territory they knew intimately. Every corner was a potential ambush, every doorway a kill zone. They'd almost reached the main entrance when Lena heard it, a voice calling in Russian, followed by the distinctive sound of a weapon being cocked. She turned to see Natasha standing at the top of the grand staircase, gun trained on Victor's back. Natasha, no, Lena started. I'm sorry, Natasha said, and she sounded like she meant it. But he's my brother. I can't let you kill him. He murdered innocent people, Victor said without turning around, including Lena's father. He's a monster. He's my family, the only family I have. Tears streaked Natasha's face, but her aim didn't waver. I gave you the records. I helped you build your case, but I won't help you execute him. Put down your weapons and leave, all of you, or I start shooting. You'll be lucky to get one shot off before my team puts you down, Victor said calmly. I only need one shot, and I'm aiming at you. The standoff crystallized, Natasha at the top of the stairs, Victor and his team below, Volkov's remaining guards regrouping in the rooms beyond. One wrong move would ignite a firefight that would kill everyone. Lena stepped forward, hands raised. Natasha, listen to me. I know you love your brother. I know he sacrificed everything for you, but you can't save him. Not from this. Not from what he's become. I have to try. Why? So he can continue destroying lives? So more fathers die? So more families get torn apart? Lena moved closer, keeping her voice gentle. You told me you hated what he made you become. This is your chance to become something else. Someone who chooses justice over loyalty. Truth over family. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. You're terrified of being alone, of losing the one person who's been there your entire life. But Natasha, he's already gone. The brother you loved died the moment he chose this life. What's left is just a shell wearing his face. That's not true. Then ask yourself, if your positions were reversed, if you were threatening his empire to save someone you loved, what would he do? Would he lower his weapon? Would he choose you over everything he built? Natasha's gun wavered. You know the answer, Lena said softly. You've always known it. The sound of approaching sirens cut through the moment. Federal agents responding to Victor's call. Within minutes, the mansion would be swarming with law enforcement. It's over, Natasha, Victor said. One way or another, your brother's reign ends tonight. You can go down with him, or you can choose to live. To really live, not just survive in his shadow. Natasha lowered her weapon slowly, defeat written in every line of her body. Where is he? We haven't found him yet, Victor admitted. He disappeared during the fighting. Then he's already gone. He has escape routes, contingencies. You'll never catch him. We have every port, every airport, every border crossing locked down. His accounts are frozen. His network is compromised. Where's he going to run? Natasha laughed bitterly. You still don't understand who you're dealing with. My brother doesn't run from fights. He doesn't hide from enemies. She met Victor's gaze. He's not escaping, he's regrouping, and when he comes back, he'll burn everything you care about to ash just to prove he can. The basement door crashed open. Two of Victor's team emerged with Elena and Anna Petrov, both shaken but unharmed. Mikhail ran to them, folding his family into his arms with desperate relief. All hostages secure, one of the team reported. Building is clear, except for the explosion ripped through the mansion's east wing with devastating force. The floor buckled, walls cracked, and Lena found herself thrown backward into Victor's arms. He covered her body with his as debris rained down, as the beautiful, terrible house Volkov had built began to tear itself apart. When the dust cleared enough to see, the east wing was gone, just a smoking crater where Volkov's study and private quarters had been. If anyone had been inside, they were gone now. He blew it, Natasha whispered. The evidence, his records, everything in his personal safe. He destroyed it all rather than let you have it. We already have copies from your apartment, Victor said, pulling Lena to her feet. This was just spite. No, Natasha shook her head. This was a message. He's telling you that if he can't have his empire, he'll make sure nobody does, that he'd rather see everything burned than surrender. Federal agents poured through the front entrance, weapons drawn, voices shouting commands. Victor's team lowered their weapons, hands visible, postures non-threatening. The transition from combat to compliance was seamless. They'd done this before. I need to make a statement, Victor said to the agent in charge, about tonight's operation, the evidence we've gathered, and the ongoing threat Dmitry Volkov represents. The agent, a woman in her 40s with shrewd eyes, nodded. We'll need statements from everyone involved, but first, she turned to Lena. Are you Lena Carter? Yes? Agent Sarah Morrison, FBI. We've been investigating Volkov for 3 years. Your cooperation tonight, the financial analysis you provided, the connections you uncovered, it's some of the best investigative work I've seen. Where'd you learn to track money laundering operations? I ran a flower shop. Tracking supply chains isn't that different from tracking money flows. Both are just patterns that need to make sense. Morrison smiled slightly. We could use someone with your skills. When this is all over, if you're interested in consulting work, can we discuss career opportunities after we catch the man who killed my father? Fair enough? Morrison's expression sobered. Speaking of which, we found evidence in Volkov's study before the explosion. Medical records, toxicology reports. He kept trophies of his victories. Your father's case file was among them. It confirms what you suspected. Digitalis poisoning, administered gradually over several weeks. Mimics cardiac arrest perfectly. The confirmation should have brought satisfaction. Instead, it just felt like grief compressing into something dense and poisonous in Lena's chest. Thank you, she managed. We'll get him, Morrison said. One way or another, Dmitry Volkov will answer for his crimes. But as federal agents processed the scene, as Lena gave her statement with Victor beside her, as dawn began to break over the ruins of Volkov's mansion, she couldn't shake Natasha's words. He's not escaping. He's regrouping. Somewhere out there, Volkov was planning his next move. And if Natasha was right, that move would be aimed directly at everyone who'd helped destroy his empire. At Victor. At his team. At the Petrov family. At Lena. The war wasn't over. It had just entered a new, more dangerous phase, and this time, Volkov wouldn't bother with subtlety or patience. He would come for blood. The sun rose over the city, beautiful and indifferent. Lena watched it climb, Victor's hand steady on her shoulder, and prepared herself for the battle still to come. Because she wasn't running anymore. Wasn't hiding. Wasn't the frightened florist who'd walked into a stranger's shop and found her life burning down around her. She was someone harder now. Sharper. Someone who'd looked into the darkness and refused to blink. And when Volkov came for her, and he would come, she'd be ready. The call came at 3 a.m., 48 hours after the mansion raid. Lena was still awake, had been awake for most of those 48 hours, her mind refusing to quiet even when exhaustion pulled at her bones. She'd been sitting in Victor's command center, reviewing financial records for the dozenth time, searching for any pattern that might reveal where Volkov had gone. Victor's phone lit up with a number that made his expression turn to stone. He answered on speaker. Hello, Victor? Volkov's voice was calm, conversational, as if they were old friends catching up. I hope I'm not interrupting anything important. Where are you? Victor's tone matched Volkov's for control, but Lena saw his hand tighten on the phone. Somewhere safe. Somewhere your federal friends won't find me. But that's not why I'm calling. Papers rustled in the background. I'm calling to make you an offer. A trade, if you will. I don't negotiate with you. You will for this. Volkov's voice sharpened. I have something you want, or rather, someone. Your baby sister, Victor. Katie, isn't it? 23 years old, graduate student at Columbia. Lives alone in apartment 4B on Amsterdam Avenue. Takes the same route to campus every morning. Very predictable. Very vulnerable. The blood drained from Victor's face. You're lying. Am I? Let me put her on. A moment of silence, then a young woman's voice, terrified and tearful. Victor? Victor, please. I don't know what's happening. These men just... The line cut off. Volkov came back on. Still think I'm lying? Lena watched Victor's control fracture, watched fury and fear war across his features. This was the pressure point Volkov had been searching for, the one person Victor couldn't protect because he'd kept her completely separate from his work. What do you want? Victor's voice was barely above a whisper. Everything you took from me. My sister returned. The financial records destroyed. And you, Victor Raines, on your knees, begging for mercy before I decide whether to grant it. Volkov paused. You have 12 hours. At 3 p.m., I'll send you a location. Come alone, bring what I asked for, or Katie dies. And after Katie, I'll work my way through everyone else you care about, starting with your little florist friend. The line went dead. Victor stood frozen, the phone still pressed to his ear. When he finally moved, it was to hurl the device against the wall with explosive force. It shattered, components scattering across the floor. "We'll get her back," Lena said, moving to him. He has her." Victor's voice broke on the words. "He has Katie. Because I was arrogant. Because I thought keeping her separate would keep her safe. Because I underestimated how far he'd go." "You couldn't have known." "I should have known. This is what he does. He finds what you love and he destroys it." Victor slammed his fist into the wall, plaster cracking. "My first sister died investigating him. Now he has my second sister. And it's my fault. All of it." Lena grabbed his arm, forced him to look at her. "Stop. We don't have time for guilt or self-recrimination. We have 12 hours to find Katie and end this. So focus. Where would he take her?" Victor's training kicked in, overriding emotion with tactical necessity. Somewhere he controls. Somewhere off the grid. He lost his properties, his network, but he's been planning escape routes for years, safe houses we don't know about. Natasha would know. Lena pulled out her own phone, dialing the number for the FBI safe house where Natasha had been placed. She grew up with him. She knows how he thinks. Agent Morrison answered. "Carter, it's late. We need to talk to Natasha, now. Volkov has Victor's sister." There was a pause, heavy with implication. "I'll connect you." Natasha's voice came through moments later, rough with sleep and wariness. "What happened?" "Your brother kidnapped a 23-year-old graduate student to use as leverage against Victor. We need to know where he'd take her, where his emergency bolt holes are." Lena kept her voice steady, controlled. "You said you wanted to help. This is how. If I tell you, if you go after him, people will die. Maybe Katie, maybe Victor, maybe you. People will definitely die if we do nothing. At least this way we have a chance." Lena met Victor's gaze across the room. "Please, Natasha, I know you love your brother, but this is where love has to draw a line, before more innocent people get hurt." The silence stretched. Then Natasha sighed, the sound carrying decades of accumulated grief. "There are 3 locations he'd use. One is a warehouse in Newark, too obvious, too easy to find. The second is a shipping container yard near the port, possible, but exposed. The third, she paused. "There's a private estate in the Catskills, bought under shell companies, off all the official records. It was supposed to be our retirement plan, somewhere we could disappear if everything went wrong." "Address?" Victor was already pulling up maps. Natasha rattled off coordinates. "But Victor, you need to understand, this place is designed to be impenetrable. Security systems, reinforced structures, escape tunnels. If Dimitri's there with hostages, a frontal assault will get everyone killed. Then we don't go frontal, we go smart." Victor's expression hardened into something cold and calculating. "Natasha, I need full layout of the property, security weaknesses, any detail you remember." "I'll do better than that. I'll come with you." "Absolutely not," Morrison's voice cut in. "You're a federal witness in protective custody. You're not going anywhere near an active operation." "Then Victor's sister dies and Dimitri disappears again. Is that what you want?" Natasha's voice carried steel. "I know that property better than anyone. I can get you inside. I can disable the security. And I can talk to my brother, maybe convince him to release Katie before this turns into a bloodbath." "She's right," Lena said. "We need her." Morrison was quiet for a long moment. "This is highly irregular. If anything goes wrong, then it goes wrong," Victor interrupted. "But sitting here doing nothing isn't an option. Katie has 11 hours. We're wasting time debating." "Fine. But she goes with a full tactical team, and if I even suspect she's compromising the operation, I pull everyone out and we wait for a better opportunity." "There won't be a better opportunity," Victor said. "Volkov knows he's cornered. This is his last stand. Either we end it now, or he takes us down with him." The next hours were a blur of preparation. Victor assembled his team, the same operatives who'd hit Volkov's mansion, plus federal tactical units Morrison provided. They pored over satellite imagery of the Catskills estate, planned approach vectors, identified vulnerabilities. Natasha provided details that weren't visible from aerial photos, the blind spots in camera coverage, the timing of guard rotations, the emergency power systems. "There's a service entrance on the north side," she explained, pointing to a section of the estate's perimeter, hidden by trees designed to look like natural landscaping. The security is lighter there because Dmitri assumed no one would know it existed. But you do. Victor studied the terrain. Can you get us through? If the codes haven't been changed, if he hasn't upgraded since I was last there, if... Natasha shook her head. There are a lot of variables, but yes, I can try. Lena watched the planning unfold, feeling increasingly like dead weight. She wasn't tactical, wasn't trained for armed rescue operations. Every instinct screamed at her to stay behind, to let the professionals handle this. But when Victor started assigning positions and pointedly didn't include her, she spoke up. I'm coming with you. No, you're not. Victor, this isn't a negotiation, Lena. This is a military operation against a fortified position held by a man who's already proven he'll kill hostages. You're not trained for this. You'll be a liability. I'll stay back with the support team. I won't go near the fighting, but I'm not sitting here while you walk into a trap. She moved closer, lowering her voice so only he could hear. You're not losing another person you care about because you tried to protect them by keeping them away. Katie got kidnapped because she was separate from this. Don't make the same mistake with me. Something in her words landed. Victor's expression shifted, the rigid control cracking slightly. If I give the order to retreat, you run. No arguments, no heroics. Understood? Understood. They loaded into vehicles at noon, a convoy of tactical teams and surveillance equipment heading north into the mountains. The Catskills rose around them, beautiful and indifferent, fall colors painting the landscape in reds and golds. It seemed obscene that nature could be so lovely while they drove toward potential slaughter. Natasha rode in Victor's vehicle, silent and withdrawn. She stared out the window at the passing scenery, and Lena wondered what she was thinking, whether she was having second thoughts, whether family loyalty would override everything else at the critical moment. I'm not going to betray you, Natasha said quietly, as if reading Lena's thoughts. If that's what you're wondering. I wasn't. Yes, you were, and I don't blame you. I've already betrayed Dmitri by giving you his records, his secrets. This is just the final step. She turned from the window, her eyes haunted. After today, I won't have a brother anymore. He'll either be dead or in prison, and either way, he'll never forgive me. I'll be alone. You'll be free, Lena corrected. There's a difference. Is there? Because right now, freedom feels a lot like losing everything that matters. Lena thought about her own losses, her father, her shop, the life she'd built. Freedom is what you build after everything else burns down. It's not easy. It's not comfortable. But it's yours, completely yours. No one can take it from you. And if I don't know how to build, if all I know is how to survive in someone else's shadow, then you learn, the same way I'm learning. Lena met her gaze. We're both becoming people we never expected to be. That's terrifying, but it's also kind of beautiful, if you think about it. Natasha almost smiled. You're an optimist. That's going to get you killed in this world. Maybe. Or maybe optimism is the only thing that keeps you human when everything else tries to turn you into a monster. They reached the staging area, a cleared section of forest 2 miles from the estate, just after 2 p.m. Teams deployed with military efficiency, checking equipment, running final comms checks. Victor distributed tactical assignments with the calm precision of someone who'd done this dozens of times before. We go in quiet, he briefed the assembled teams. Natasha gets us through the service entrance. From there, we split into 3 groups. Alpha team secures the perimeter and cuts external communications. Bravo team locates and extracts the hostage. Charlie team, my team, confronts Volkov. Rules of engagement, one of the tactical operators asked. Lethal force authorized if hostage safety is compromised. Otherwise, we take him alive. The FBI wants him in court, answering for his crimes. Victor's expression was grim. But make no mistake, if it comes down to Katie's life or his, he dies. Clear? Agreement rippled through the group. These were people who understood the stakes, who'd operated in gray spaces before. They wouldn't hesitate when the moment came. Lena stayed with the support team in the staging area, monitoring communications and coordinating with Morrison's FBI units. She watched Victor and his team disappear into the forest, swallowed by shadows and trees, and fought the urge to run after them. First time watching someone you care about walk into danger? Morrison appeared beside her, voice sympathetic. Is it that obvious? You're gripping that radio like it's the only thing keeping him alive. Morrison handed her a headset. Here, you'll be able to monitor team communications. Won't make the waiting easier, but at least you'll know what's happening. The headset crackled to life, voices reporting progress in calm, clipped tones. Alpha team in position, perimeter secure. Bravo approaching service entrance. Natasha, you're up. Natasha's voice came through, tense but steady. Code entering now. If this triggers an alarm, a pause that stretched like eternity. We're through. Security disabled. Proceeding to interior. Charlie team moving to primary target location. The minutes crawled past with agonizing slowness. Lena tracked their progress on a digital map, watching colored dots move through the estate's layout. Everything was going according to plan. Too smoothly. Too easily. Then Victor's voice crackled through, tight with warning. Contact, multiple hostiles in the main hall. Engaging. Gunfire erupted through the radio, sharp cracks followed by shouted commands. Lena's hands clenched on the headset as chaos exploded in her ears. Bravo team. Hostage located in the east wing. She's alive but secured. We need 5 minutes to extract. Charlie team is pinned. Request backup. Alpha team responding. Hold position. Morrison swore under her breath, reaching for her own radio. All federal units move in. This just became a hot extraction. The support team mobilized, vehicles roaring to life. Lena found herself in one without consciously deciding to move. Morrison beside her, both of them racing toward the estate as radio chatter devolved into shouted warnings and the continuous crack of weapons fire. They arrived to find the estate's front gate blown open, smoke pouring from several windows. Federal agents and Victor's team were engaged in a running firefight with Volkov's remaining security forces. Bodies lay scattered across the manicured lawn, some moving, some still. Stay in the vehicle, Morrison ordered, already moving. Lena ignored her, following at a careful distance, using the chaos as cover. She needed to know Victor was alive, needed to see it with her own eyes. She found him in what had once been an elegant library, now destroyed by gunfire and grenades. He was bleeding from a cut above his eye, pinned behind an overturned desk, while 2 of Volkov's guards laid down suppressing fire from across the room. Without thinking, Lena grabbed a fallen weapon, something heavy and unfamiliar in her hands, and fired in the guard's direction. The recoil nearly knocked her over, and her shots went wide, but they served their purpose. The guards turned toward the new threat, giving Victor the opening he needed. He took them both down with brutal efficiency, then whirled on Lena with fury in his eyes. "What the hell are you doing here?" "Saving your life, apparently. I told you to stay back, and I told you I wasn't losing anyone else." She threw the weapon down, hands shaking. "Where's Volkov?" "Gone. He was here. We had him. But he slipped through during the fighting. There's a tunnel system Natasha didn't know about. He's using it to escape." "Then we go after him." "Lena, he has to pay, Victor. For my father, for Katie, for everyone he's hurt. We can't let him disappear again." Victor studied her for a moment, then nodded sharply. "Stay behind me. Do exactly what I say. And if I tell you to run, you run." They moved through the estate, following the sound of distant footsteps echoing through hidden passages. The tunnel system was extensive, hand-carved stone corridors that probably dated back a century, now equipped with modern lighting and air circulation. "He's heading for the garage," Victor said, checking his weapon. "There's probably a vehicle waiting. We need to cut him off before—" The explosion came from behind them, collapsing the tunnel in a cascade of stone and dust. Lena felt Victor's arm wrap around her, pulling her close as debris rained down. When the dust cleared, the way back was blocked. "He's trapping us in," Victor said grimly. "He wants us to follow." "Then let's not disappoint him." They emerged from the tunnel into an underground garage that held 3 vehicles, an armored SUV, a sports car, and a nondescript sedan. Dmitry Volkov stood beside the SUV, gun trained on the tunnel entrance, Katie bound and gagged in the vehicle behind him. "Victor Rains," he said, smile cold and sharp. "So predictable. I knew you couldn't resist coming yourself. And you brought the florist. Even better. Let Katie go. This is between us. Everything is between us now. You destroyed my empire, corrupted my sister, killed my men. This stopped being business the moment you made it personal." Volkov's finger tightened on the trigger. "But I'm a reasonable man. I'll make you a deal. You for the girl, your life for hers. Clean trade." Don't, Lena said, but Victor was already moving forward. Let her go first, prove she's unharmed. Then we'll talk terms. No, you get in the SUV, I verify you're unarmed, then I release her. How do I know you won't just kill us both? You don't, but it's the only deal you're getting. Volkov gestured with the gun. Clock's ticking, Victor. Federal agents will breach this garage in minutes. You can save your sister, or you can watch her die while you debate philosophy. Victor's hands came up slowly, showing he was unarmed. Lena, when he releases Katie, get her out of here. Don't look back. Don't stop. Just run. Victor, no. That's an order. He moved toward the SUV, each step measured and careful. Volkov? I'm complying. Now, let her go. Volkov watched him approach, satisfaction written across his features. He'd won. Despite everything, despite the raids, the evidence, the destruction of his network, he was going to escape with Victor as a trophy, and there was nothing anyone could do to stop it. Except Lena had spent her entire adult life solving impossible problems, finding solutions where none existed, making numbers add up when they shouldn't, and she'd just realized something crucial. He's bluffing, she said clearly. Both men turned to look at her. Lena, don't... Victor started. He's bluffing, she repeated, moving forward. Think about it, Victor. If Volkov actually wanted to escape, he'd already be gone. He had a head start. He has resources we don't know about. But instead, he's here, making deals, wasting time. Why? Because he wants leverage, Volkov said, but something flickered in his eyes. No, because this garage is a dead end. Lena kept walking, ignoring Victor's warning glance. There's no exit except the tunnel we came through, and you just collapsed it. The FBI has the estate surrounded. You're trapped, and you know it. So this isn't about escape. This is about going out on your terms. Volkov's smile widened, but it was the grin of a cornered animal. Very clever, Ms. Carter. You see patterns where others see chaos. It's a useful skill. So what's the play? Mutual destruction? Take us all down with you in some final blaze of glory? Something like that. Volkov reached into the SUV, pulled out a device that made Victor's expression turn to stone. A detonator. This garage is wired to collapse. Enough explosives to bring the entire East Wing down on top of us. When I press this button, everyone dies. Me, you, Victor, Katie, and any federal agent stupid enough to be standing nearby. Then why haven't you pressed it already? Because I wanted an audience. Because I wanted Victor to watch me destroy everything he tried to save. Because revenge isn't satisfying if the person you're punishing doesn't understand why they're suffering. He met Victor's gaze. You took everything from me. So I'm returning the favor. Wait! Natasha's voice echoed from the tunnel entrance. She emerged from the shadows, hands raised, expression determined. Dmitri, please, don't do this. Natasha, Volkov's voice cracked on her name. You betrayed me. You gave them everything. How could you? Because you killed innocent people. Because you became something monstrous. Because I couldn't watch you destroy more lives in the name of protecting mine. Tears streamed down her face. I loved you, Dmitri. I still love you, but I can't let you do this. Then you'll die with them. If that's what it takes. She moved closer, and Lena saw what she was doing, positioning herself between Volkov and the detonator, making herself a shield. But before you press that button, before you kill everyone in this garage, I need you to answer one question. What question? Was it worth it? All of it. The violence, the crimes, the empire you built. Did it make you happy? Did it give you peace? Or did it just hollow you out until there was nothing left but anger and pride? Volkov's hand trembled on the detonator. I did it for you. Everything was for you. I never asked you to become this. I never wanted an empire built on suffering. I just wanted my brother back, the one who used to read me stories, the one who promised we'd build a better life together. But that person died years ago, and I didn't even notice until it was too late. I'm still here. No, you're just what's left after the man I loved consumed himself trying to prove he was strong enough to protect me from a world that didn't need conquering. Natasha reached out slowly, carefully, her hand covering his on the detonator. Please, Dmitri, let me save you this time. Let me be strong enough to stop this. For a moment, Lena thought it would work, thought the connection between siblings would prove stronger than pride or rage or the need for revenge. Then Volkov's expression hardened. I'm sorry, Natasha, but some things can't be saved. His finger moved toward the trigger. Victor lunged, weapon appearing from a hidden holster. The shot caught Volkov in the shoulder, spinning him away from Natasha. The detonator flew from his hand, skittering across the concrete floor. Lena dove for it, her fingers closing around the device just as Volkov recovered and aimed his own weapon at Victor. Time seemed to slow, the world contracting to this single moment. Volkov's finger on the trigger, Victor directly in the line of fire, Natasha screaming her brother's name. Lena made a choice. She pressed the detonator, not the main trigger. She'd been studying the device while Volkov monologued, using skills honed from years of understanding complex systems. She pressed the emergency abort sequence, the failsafe that would disable the explosives without triggering them. Nothing happened. For a heartbeat, Lena thought she'd miscalculated, thought they were all about to die in fire and collapsing stone. Then red lights on the detonator turned green. The device went dead in her hands. Volkov's expression transformed from triumph to shock to rage in the space of a second. He turned his weapon toward Lena, and she knew with absolute certainty that he would kill her just for the satisfaction of it. The gunshot came from the tunnel entrance. Morrison, flanked by federal tactical teams, weapons smoking. Volkov looked down at the blood spreading across his chest, surprise written on his features. He tried to raise his weapon, tried to fire one last shot, but his strength failed. He collapsed, first to his knees, then forward onto the concrete. Natasha ran to him, cradling his head in her lap. Dmitri, stay with me, please. Natasha, he whispered, blood on his lips. I'm sorry. I should have listened. Don't talk. Save your strength. They'll get you medical help. You'll be okay. But they both knew he wouldn't be. Lena could see it in the way Morrison lowered her weapon, in the way the tactical team stood back. This wasn't an arrest anymore. It was a vigil. Tell me, Volkov's voice was fading. Tell me it was worth something, that I wasn't just a monster. You were my brother, Natasha said, tears falling freely. You were the person who protected me when no one else would. You were flawed and violent and terrible, but you were also mine, and I loved you. That has to count for something. Volkov smiled, blood-stained and sad. Thank you for lying, for giving me that much. His eyes closed. His breathing stopped. And Dmitri Volkov, the man who'd built an empire on fear and violence, who'd killed Lena's father and kidnapped Victor's sister and destroyed countless lives, simply ended. Natasha held him for a long moment, then gently laid him down. When she stood, she looked decades older, grief and relief warring on her face. It's over, she said to no one in particular. Finally, it's over. Morrison moved to secure Katie, cutting her bonds, checking for injuries. Victor went to his sister, folding her into his arms with desperate relief. And Lena stood in the middle of the garage, detonator still in her hands, trying to process what had just happened. She'd ended it. Not Victor, not the FBI, not some dramatic final confrontation, just a florist who understood systems and patterns, who'd studied a detonator long enough to find its weakness. Victor found her after Katie was safely evacuated, after the federal teams had processed the scene, after the adrenaline had faded and left only exhaustion in its wake. You saved us, he said simply. I disabled a bomb. You're the one who actually stopped him. Morrison shot him. Natasha delayed him. You prevented him from killing everyone. We all played our parts. He touched her face gently, tracing the line of her jaw. But you were the one who saw the pattern, who figured out what he was planning before he could execute it. That's what saved us. Lena leaned into his touch, letting herself feel the weight of everything that had happened. Is Katie okay? Shaken, traumatized, but alive. That's more than I dared hope for when I got his call. Victor's voice roughened. I thought I was going to lose her, lose you, lose everything that mattered. But you didn't. We made it. We did. He pulled her close, and she felt the tremor in his hands, the adrenaline crash hitting him as hard as it was hitting her. I know I don't say this enough. I know I'm better at strategy than emotions, but Lena, I care about you more than I expected. More than is probably wise given what we do. But I need you to know that. I care about you too, she whispered, Which is terrifying considering we met because a criminal syndicate wanted me dead. Not exactly a fairy tale beginning. No, but maybe a real one. The kind where people are complicated and damaged and trying to do better despite everything. He pulled back enough to meet her eyes. What happens now? After this? When the adrenaline fades and we have to figure out what normal looks like. Lena thought about that. About the flower shop that no longer existed. About the father she'd avenged. About the woman she'd become through fire and violence and impossible choices. I don't know, she admitted. I don't know what normal looks like anymore. Don't know if I even want normal after everything we've been through. What do you want? Something real, something mine, something that isn't about survival or revenge or fighting battles I never asked for. She paused. And maybe something with you in it, if you're interested. Victor smiled, genuine, warm, the first real smile she'd seen from him. I'm very interested. The weeks that followed were a blur of legal proceedings and media attention. Volkov's death made international news. His criminal network dismantled piece by piece as federal prosecutors worked through the evidence. Natasha testified at dozens of hearings, providing details that led to hundreds of arrests. The Petro family entered witness protection. Katie returned to Colombia with a security detail and regular therapy appointments, and Lena found herself in Morrison's office, listening to an offer that 2 months ago would have seemed insane. We need consultants who understand financial systems, Morrison explained. People who can look at data and see patterns that trained investigators miss. You've proven you have that skill, multiple times actually. The Bureau would like to hire you. As what? I'm not an accountant or a financial analyst? As exactly what you are. Someone who understands how complex systems work and can explain them to people who don't. We'd train you, of course, give you the tools and resources you need, but the raw talent? That's all you. Lena looked out Morrison's window at the city below. Somewhere down there was the empty lot where her father's flower shop had stood. The life she'd lost. The woman she'd been. I need time to think about it. Take all the time you need. The offer stands whenever you're ready. Morrison handed her a business card. But Lena, you're good at this. Really good. It would be a waste for you to walk away. That evening, Lena met Victor at a rooftop restaurant overlooking the city. He'd been quieter since the raid, more introspective. Whatever he'd felt watching his sister nearly die had changed something fundamental in him. Morrison offered me a job, Lena said over wine she was too distracted to taste. Consulting work. Financial analysis for federal cases. What did you say? That I needed time to think, which is true, but also a delaying tactic because I have no idea what I actually want. She set down her glass. What about you? What happens to Victor Rains now that his vendetta is complete? I'm shutting down the operation. The private security consultancy, the investigative work, all of it. Time to do something that doesn't involve violence and revenge. He paused. I'm thinking about teaching, strategic analysis at the graduate level, something that uses my skills but doesn't require carrying a weapon. That's a big change. Long overdue. I've spent years being angry, being focused on destroying Volkov. Now that it's done, I need to figure out who I am when I'm not fighting. His hand found hers across the table. And I'd like to figure that out with you, if you're willing. Lena thought about it, about the woman she'd been, frightened, desperate, trying to save something already lost. About the woman she'd become, harder, sharper, capable of things that terrified and amazed her in equal measure. I don't know how to be in a relationship, she admitted. I've spent the last year just trying to survive. Before that, I was focused on the shop, on keeping my father's legacy alive. I don't have a framework for this. For us. Then we build one. Together. No frameworks, no expectations. Just two people who've been through hell and somehow found each other on the other side. Victor smiled slightly. We're good at building things from nothing. We've both proven that. We have, haven't we? Lena felt something unfamiliar bloom in her chest. Not hope exactly, but possibility. The sense that maybe, just maybe, there was a future worth building. Okay, let's try. Let's see what we can build when we're not fighting for our lives. I'll say it. 3 months later, Lena stood in front of a new building in the old neighborhood, not where her father's shop had been. That lot was part of a federal investigation now, tied up in legal proceedings against Volkov's estate, but close enough to feel like coming home. The space was larger than the old shop, with better lighting and modern infrastructure, but it had the same bones: old brick, high ceilings, character built up over generations. It felt right in a way nothing had felt right since her father died. "You're sure about this?" Victor asked, standing beside her with blueprints in hand. "Morrison's offer is still on the table. You could have steady work, good money, benefits." "I'm sure. I loved the investigative work, loved using my mind that way. But this?" She gestured at the empty space. "This is mine. Something I'm building because I want to, not because I have to. Not because I'm fighting or surviving, just because it matters to me." "Carter and daughter florals, the next generation?" "Actually, Lena pulled out her own plans, rough sketches showing a hybrid space. "I was thinking something different. Still flowers, but also a consulting space. I do Morrison's contract work part-time, use this as my office, and when I'm not tracking criminal finances, I arrange flowers for people who appreciate beauty. Best of both worlds." Victor studied her sketches, and his smile grew. "You're going to be terrifying when you fully come into your power. You know that, right?" "Good. I've earned the right to be terrifying." She leaned into him, comfortable in a way that still surprised her. "What about you? Teaching position confirmed?" "Starting next semester. Strategic analysis and risk assessment. I'm told my real-world experience will be valuable." He paused. "Katie's enrolled in one of my classes. She claims it's coincidence, but I think she just wants to keep an eye on me." "Smart woman. Someone needs to make sure you don't backslide into vigilante justice." "I have you for that." "True. But I also enable your worst impulses, so maybe Katie's presence is necessary balance." They stood in the empty shop, imagining the future they'd build there. It wouldn't be easy. Nothing worthwhile ever was. They both carried scars from what they'd been through, trauma that would take years to fully process, but they also carried something else. Strength forged in fire, understanding earned through survival, and a partnership built not on romance or convenience, but on mutual respect and hard-won trust. "I've been thinking," Victor said slowly, "about your father, about what happened to him. The toxicology evidence Morrison found confirmed it was murder, but we never actually proved Volkov gave the order. It was always circumstantial." "I know, and I've made peace with that. Or I'm trying to." Lena touched the wall of the new shop, feeling the old brick warm under her fingers. "He's dead. His empire is destroyed. Everyone he hurt has some measure of justice. That has to be enough." "Does it?" "It has to be. Because the alternative is spending the rest of my life chasing ghosts and demanding perfect answers in an imperfect world. My father wouldn't want that for me." She turned to face Victor fully. "He'd want me to build something beautiful, to find joy despite the grief, to live instead of just survive. He'd be proud of you, of what you've become." "I hope so. Some days I'm not sure I recognize myself. The woman who walked into your life was so different from who I am now. You were always this person. You just didn't know it yet. Circumstances revealed what was already there: the strength, the intelligence, the absolute refusal to quit even when quitting was the smart move." Victor pulled her close. "You saved my life, Lena. Multiple times, in multiple ways. I don't say that enough. You saved mine first, so we're even." "I don't think that's how it works. Then we'll spend the rest of our lives saving each other, taking turns, keeping score." She smiled. "Sounds exhausting, but also kind of perfect." 6 months after that, the shop opened. Not Carter and daughter. That name belonged to the past, to a different woman and a different time. This place was called Resilience, and it was exactly what Lena had envisioned. Half flower shop, half consulting office, completely hers. The opening day was small and intimate. Katie came, thriving in her graduate program despite the trauma she'd endured. Morrison attended, already lining up contract work for Lena to take on. The Petrov family sent flowers from their new life in witness protection. Even Natasha appeared, older and sadder, but free in ways she'd never been before. "It's beautiful," Natasha said, examining the arrangements Lena had created. "Your father would have loved it." "I think he would have." Lena adjusted a particularly stubborn rose. "Thank you for coming. I know this can't be easy." Nothing is easy anymore, but I'm learning to live with that. Natasha's voice was quiet. I testified at another hearing last week, Dimitri's final associates, the ones who escaped the initial arrests. Watching them go to prison should feel like victory. Instead, it just feels like grief. That's because it is grief. Complicated, messy grief for a complicated, messy relationship. There's no guidebook for how to mourn someone who is both family and monster. No, but you're managing it. Managing to build something beautiful from the ashes. How? Lena considered the question. I give myself permission to feel everything. The anger, the sadness, the guilt. But I don't let those feelings define my future. I let them exist alongside the joy and the hope and the determination to create something meaningful. All of it together, all at once. That sounds exhausting. It is, but it's also the only way forward that feels honest. Lena touched Natasha's arm gently. You'll find your path. It might not look like mine, might not even look like anything you recognize, but you'll find it. Natasha nodded, blinking back tears. Thank you. For everything. For giving me a reason to be brave. She left shortly after, and Lena watched her go with a mixture of sadness and hope. Some people you couldn't save, some relationships were too damaged to repair, but you could witness each other's pain and growth, could offer whatever small kindnesses made the burden lighter. That evening, after the last guests had left and the shop was quiet, Victor found Lena sitting among the flowers, just breathing in the scent of roses and lilies and hope. How are you feeling? He asked. Tired. Grateful. Terrified that I'm going to somehow ruin this. She laughed softly. But mostly okay. Better than okay, actually. For the first time in forever, I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. You are. He sat beside her, pulling her close. We both are. And sitting there in the shop she'd built from nothing, surrounded by beauty she'd created with her own hands, partnered with a man who understood her darkness because he carried his own, Lena finally believed it. The journey from terrified florist to empowered woman hadn't been clean or easy or anything like what she'd imagined. It had been brutal and transformative, and it cost more than she wanted to count. But it had also given her something precious. Herself. Fully realized, completely authentic, no longer defined by what she'd lost, but by what she'd chosen to become. The black box and the funeral lily felt like they belonged to someone else's story now. This was hers, written in courage and resilience and the stubborn refusal to let violence have the last word. And it was just beginning.